time for Type 40 Live. Yeah, your Doctor Who show materialising live tonight here on the Spacebook channel, back before your very ears and your eyes, with me, Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and whatever time zone or time stream that you're joining us from. Yeah, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks. I was going to say not much has gone on, but it has, but it hasn't. It has, but we'll get to all that in a couple of minutes. We'll have a nice big catch up with you and them, my companions. They're all going to be on in a couple of minutes. We are live streaming this. Of course, we are over to YouTube, the world's biggest, largest streaming platform. Of course we are. And over to Facebook, over to the Type 40 Facebook groups. So anybody that's watching over there, hello. You've got if you want to join in, you want to have your comments, come up on screen just like everybody else. You have to click that little link, and then Facebook will tell StreamYard who you are, and StreamYard will tell us, and we'll all be on first name terms, just like you want to be at a party. You don't want to spend all your time in the kitchen, do you? Or out on the balcony where no one knows your name. You want to be in the thick of it with us. Welcome back. Thank you to everybody for all the feedback. It was unprecedented, the feedback we had to that last show, that monster of a show, Who's Next, where we had the temerity, the sheer gall to outdo incoming showrunner Russell T Davies and the ones that have gone before with our picks for the Doctor. We had a lot of fun with that. I think you did too. We had lots of comments, lots of interaction over the social media too. We may return to that subject here and there because, you know, it's fun, isn't it? I think I'd forgotten quite how much fun it was. But yeah, please keep that engagement up. Keep the comments coming. I really do love hearing all your thoughts, all your observations, and your picks for who may be next. And who's next here to join me in the console room? I think she's regenerated. Let's bring her in with a bit of a fanfare, shall we? Yes, it's Starry-eyed girl Sarah Graham.
Hello.
Hiya, Sarah. Good to see you. Okay.
I've redecorated.
But I do like it. I do.
Oh.
I was going to go with change, my dear.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They're both good quotes. They're both cuddly good.
She's lost for words. She's lost for words, Simon Horton. What have you got to say for yourself?
It's me. Hello. We're back, everybody. Did you miss us?
She's back. He's back. Yes. Well, I've missed you both. I
We're
have.
all back.
You know who else I've missed? I've also missed the lovely JT and Charlotte Shields. Here they are. Look.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
Shiny, smiling faces. Hello, everybody. Have you both recovered as well from that monster of a show a couple of weeks ago?
Oh, yeah.
I think just about.
Oh, yeah, go over that. I mean, move on. But what a great week and a very interesting week for Doctor Who this week.
It's all been very telling, hasn't it, Charlotte? Because I know that you very wisely ditched a lot of social media platforms, but it has a way of filtering its way down through the Doctor Who community, doesn't it? Whenever anything's sort of kicking off and going a bit nuts.
Well, yeah, because the media, like, it's been a while since that much media coverage has happened for the show. So even if you weren't on Twitter or you weren't on social media.
That's not a surprise, Simon. Honestly,
fill you in, sunshine. We're going to fill you in.
Simon Horton, the Donna Noble of Type 40.
I missed it all.
The brilliant thing is, I mean,
here
we are again. We're going again. We're back, and you know, the only thing about it is now we've got to look at Mega Geeky.
Oh,
that's it. He's here too.
Yeah,
How could it be a party
I noticed
without our friend the
didn't
Mega
say
Geek?
he missed Ian.
No.
I only saw him the
No
other
one
day.
missed me. No one.
My Mega Geek friend, good to have you back. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm all right. Yeah, no, it's good to be back, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
the Brady Bunch. That's what it is. The Brady Bunch.
It is getting. It is a little like that. Do you like our big pink splat as well?
Yeah, it's very pink.
it's very pink.
Well,
Yeah.
cheers to you all. Good to have you all back. And yes, we're going to check in now. Yay. We're going to check in now with all our companions
Yes.
who join,
Oh, here we go. Now
to join in all of this nonsense and all of this madness. We're going to give this a bit of a blast. There, why not? And get stuck in to see who has taken the time to join us. This time, who's here to welcome us back? Blue Bonnet Whovian says, just wanted to say I am first. And you know who else was first? Hartnell was first.
course.
Good stuff. Good to see you, Blue.
Well
Hope
done,
all is
Blue.
well with you.
Not the little black girl. No.
It's nonsense, isn't
Evening,
it?
the original, you might say, as
All right,
Paul
Paul.
Murray. Back for more, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Yes. Sam has just made it back from Tesco's in time. Well, you can go
You might
to Tesco's
you might pass
anytime.
the Asda's doctor while you were there.
Yeah.
Tesco's. Yeah.
Yes, Tesco's open 24/7. We're not, well, we are kind of, 'cause you can stream, but you can't stream Tesco. But I would much rather you be here. Of course, I would. A bit like the Department of Wendology, who've
Hi,
deployed
Wendy.
Wendy
Hi.
herself to watch over us to make sure that we're not stepping out of line here.
She doesn't do a very good job, does she?
No.
Well, it's sort of
Ross.
impossible. It's sort of
backhander.
impossible, this lot, isn't it?
Yeah, a 20 quid note every now and again. We'll sort that out. Kelly is here too. Sorry to whine. Hi, everyone. He started whining already. Kelly, never mind. Never mind. We're welcome back anyway. You can whine. You're amongst friends. You can
Yes.
whine away or wibbly wobbly timey wimey away, just like Philip King. He's watching on YouTube too. You really don't go for all that, do you? Peter Harrington says evening, afternoon, or hedging his bets
Hi,
because he's not
Peter.
sure what time
Nice
zone
to
it
see you,
is.
Peter. Welcome back. Email me, bitch.
Oh dear.
We've got JT Views here, says, I hope everybody is well. JT, talking to himself. I've been talking to myself for years,
Well.
JT. That's perfectly normal. That's what I say. What did I say?
I don't know. Watch it on the playback.
Richard Brooks says, I have discovered the delights of zero sugar orange Fanta. What a wonderful life this is. Thanks for that, Richard.
What sort of audience have we got here?
It's never too long. It's never too long before we get into either food or the weather.
Is this
or
Channel 5?
both on this show.
Is it?
Yes, what's his name? I'll be up in a minute. It was on Channel 5 the other day. They were doing an expose on somebody ridiculous. I can't remember. It's always
JT.
something ridiculous, isn't
It certainly was not on the side, please.
Oh, it's good to see so many familiar names lining up here. Jack Thursby says,
Hi, Jack.
you isn't the doctor. Crikey. Well, gosh, that's
Jack,
bugger.
spoilers. Spoilers.
We're going to come to
Susan.
that and him very, very shortly. And the time muddler, says
muddler.
good to settle down for an evening of Doctor Who rumours and gossip. Just
Yeah.
what the Doctor orders. What ordered?
Right.
You say that now. Say you feel a couple of hours after you've listened to us go on for even longer. Yeah, because we're here in the console room, as always, our lovely Type 40 TARDIS there, as always, waiting for more of your comments. So please add. We're here for you. You're here for us. Let us know what's on your mind and how you've been passing the last few weeks. What have you been watching? Which Doctor and where in the history of this wonderful August show? And if you haven't already, let's have a quick word. Please like the video. You don't get this on Radio Free Scaro, do you? Like the video, subscribe to the channel. That's all important. Please, let's get some more subscribers. Let's keep them coming in and turn on the cloister bell so you get the notifications about what we're doing next, whether it's another live stream or a podcast. We have lots more coming up between now and Easter. Stay tuned. You won't believe what we've got coming. I can promise you. I was just sorting out something literally minutes before we got on air. Can't wait to tell you all about that another time. Yeah, so we've had a little strand going, haven't we, for a while, for the love of Doctor Who. And the idea is that we just take time, really, in times of chaos and when there's not much news breaking, to just share love of Doctor Who, the show that brought us together in the first place. So I was wondering who's been watching Doctor Who this last couple of weeks. Is it something? I know you've been really, really busy, haven't you, Simon? So have you been taking time out, maybe with a box set or something?
I have actually. Yeah, I am ridiculously busy at the moment because I'm moving everybody. I'm in the process of moving as we speak. So soon you will see a different backdrop here at some point in the next few weeks. But yeah, I have been taking time out to chill and watch season 17. But I'm just so far behind because this move has taken all my time up. So I'm still on Destiny of the Daleks, believe it or not. Still watching the episode on Destiny. But it's a cracking story. I still love Destiny. It's not Genesis of the Daleks, let's be honest, but it's a good story. I love it. It's cheesy. It reminds me of Happy Days, you know. And I love
it. Just in general.
It's got lots of charm to it. I don't know.
that's
It's a feel-good one.
Yeah.
It's of its day. That whole season is of its day, and that's what makes it slightly special, really, because you can tell.
I agree.
You can tell.
The last time we spoke, JT, I think you were about to get the standard edition of season 14. Have you been digging into that too?
Yeah, because I plugged it on the show, didn't I? And I did. I watched it, and I've enjoyed it, and it's been brilliant actually just to relive some proper Doctor Who and how it should be. Russell and Bad Wolf. That's how you should be doing the new series, I reckon. Hands up, who agrees with that? Come on, I'd go for a series like that. Absolutely, and I think that's the secret, isn't it? It's all encapsulated in that wonderful series from Talons and robots and everything. You know, it's wonderful. You know, Hand of Fear, Deadly Assassin, wonderful.
Next to perfection, I think. Ian, what have you been up to lately, mate? I know we've spoken a few times. We've recorded this and that and the other, but you've bought a couple of box sets as well, haven't you? Watched Doctor Who in fits and starts.
Yeah, I mean, I went to I was visiting a friend, and I saw season 12 with Tom Baker, watching a few of them. But he's got it on VHS, would you believe?
Fabulous.
He's recorded off BBC One, so the picture's not so good. But and we were watching one bit, and you know, remember those lines that used to come down on the screen? One of the really big one. It went zzz, like, and the sound disappeared, and we're like, what? So it was a lot of fun.
That takes me back into conventions, early Doctor Who conventions, where they used to play the videos on big screens, and you get that line going up the big screen. Remember, Simon?
Yeah, but
magical days.
We thought nothing of it, and it used to be so exciting watching a colour series that was all in black and white, and every so often, every 5 minutes, you get a little brief of bang of colour, and then it'd be gone again.
Yeah, but the thing is, when that happens, the sound disappears. I mean, it depends how big it is, right? It's a dropout. So when the dropout goes slowly down the screen, the sound's gone. And we're like, what? And it just had to wait till it just passed, and then suddenly the sound comes back up. And you're like,
happy days.
Yeah.
You know what? We're going to have to do an entire hour of a show to explain what VHS was like, actually, so that we can refer people back to it, because it was magical.
People back? Do you mean like me on the actual panel?
Yes. I mean the generations that have been spoiled. Yeah.
Oh, I remember VHS.
That's what I'm saying. It was the beauty of those days. VHS, okay, the picture wasn't so good, but it just took me back when I was sitting there with my friend, George, and we were sitting there and watching this thing, and we were like, oh my God. You know, it's like if you hear a piece of music and it suddenly takes you back all the way back to school days and stuff like that. Watching it on VHS and just eating and having a laugh and you know, talking about the old days and eating popcorn and stuff and watching Tom Baker. It was a delight, you know. So, you know.
Vintage tech is definitely the best. I think we've all got a bit of a soft spot for it. Certainly. I know that he has. And I think that a couple of people in our chat have got a soft spot for Starry-Eyed Girls' new hair. We have Love the Barnett story. And Chancellor Goff says, now understand why they love Starry. Mea culpa. Chancellor Goff, good to see you there. Missed you all. We've got lovely shirt, Simon, from Paul Murray on YouTube. Again, there we are.
Spring has sprung.
He always wears such cool stuff, doesn't it, Simon?
He's what they call a natty dresser. I think that's the expression, a natty dresser. Yes, we've got a chat loaded full of people, all pleased to
somebody missed me. Thank God.
We are, yes.
Thanks, Vanessa.
You didn't miss anybody else, just you.
Simon Ashley says, I think I have to wear my sunglasses to look at Simon Horton. Keep it coming, please, keep it coming. And Richard Brooks asks, which of the Cornetto range will Ian David Diaz be consuming this evening? Well, this is he keeps us in suspense.
One day I'll bring my whole Cornetto collection on and and just eat them one by one as the show goes on. So that'd be quite cool, wouldn't it? Yeah.
And then you'll be sick at the end of it.
Absolutely. That's the climax.
Really cow.
Yes, I wanted to talk a little bit more about physical media because rumours, yes, we are doing a bit of a dive on rumours here. And whilst there's not masses of it around, there is a rumour about this. Yeah, the season 22 box set, which we've never had an official release date even speculated about. They've never put a single date out there, and we understand why, because you know these releases, they do struggle to keep their dates. But we have heard that it was supposed to be out in a couple of weeks' time, in time for Easter. Indeed, they did have that BFI screening of Revelation of the Daleks a couple of weeks ago, didn't they, JT? Did you see all the images from that, from Colin and Nicola there?
Yeah, I had a few friends that were there as well, so it was it was the usual sort of, meet and greet type thing, questions and discussing the episodes and meeting the director, that sort of stuff, yeah.
But rumour now has it that Gremlins have sort of got in the works, and that the season 22 box set may be a little, if not a lot later to our shelves than was originally planned. It could be a couple of months. I haven't had any confirmation about this. This is speculation, rumor and speculation at the moment. But yeah, it seems that it may have missed its slot at the plant where they manufacture the Blu-rays due to a COVID outbreak in Poland where they're manufactured. So again, nobody's actually said anything about this yet, but we're aware that the rumours are out there and growing. People are talking about it over in our social media group. So we probably, it's quite likely that you've heard these rumours too. So yeah, we haven't heard anything, and we don't really. Well, I don't feel a need to press anybody on it because if it has been delayed, it's been delayed, and nobody can do anything about it, can they, Simon?
Well, no, I still can't understand why people do get quite so hot under the collar over these release dates of the Blu-ray. But okay, so they get delayed. Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? When you look at what's happening in the world elsewhere, gosh, season 22 might be a couple of months late. When you put it in context, I think we can cope and wait for a little while longer. And I get that. I think it's wise not to release dates for these things now, because people do get hot under the collar over it. So fine, just don't. And when it comes out, we'll all be excited. When it lands on our doormat, we'll all be.
That's the point, isn't it? I mean, it hasn't been delayed because they never give a release date. So how can it be late? I mean, think logically and think sensibly. It's not delayed, so knock it off. And just wait for it to come through the letterbox. Grow up. There's a war on, for Christ's sake, next door to Poland. Let's get on with it.
Yes, priorities straight. Got a comment here from Kelly, watching again on YouTube. It says season 17 is now available for pre-order. The price is down from $70 to $60 because obviously the release schedules over there slightly different, aren't they? They're coming out in a different order, aren't they? Yeah. And some are delayed longer than others. I can't quite figure it out. But if you are in the States, then yeah, apparently it is on its way, and you can get it for just $60 if you pre-order. If you pull the trigger now. I love Romana's outfit, says Richard Brooks.
So do I, Richard.
Which one? Which outfit? Which Romana?
Well, specifically Destiny. We were talking about Destiny. That's when they come. And that pink outfit.
The pink outfit.
Yeah, the coat.
Brilliant.
We have the Problem Being is here.
Hey, Problem Being.
Good to see you, Problem Being. He's hello, Dan and the gang. I'm here from the Phantom Zone. You naughty.
I hope it's not cold.
It's good to see you, Lee. I hope you're okay. Man.
Which one, though? The Superman one, or?
The Time Prophet has been watching John Pertwee, the Sea Devils in.
Wow, great stuff. I love John Pert. We love it.
Yeah, and I would watch that before a certain Chris Chibnall has a go at his.
Well, good luck with that, because I ain't watching.
I have to say though, those pictures, the Sea Devils, apart from the shoes, Sea Devils wearing shoes, that doesn't feel right. How do they wear shoes underneath in the depths of the sea? I mean, come on! But they look very good. I thought they looked very, very good.
But as usual, the design will be fine.
Don't
The
care.
design's been done by a fan as well, hasn't it? An independent fan, apparently. I hear.
Is that right? So they haven't gone to
so I hear. I don't take much interest, as you know, but so I hear.
So they haven't gone to somebody in house. They've gone out
to
the BBC production department, production design department.
That explains why they look good then.
I've got to be honest. I'm really impressed with this. I've been impressed with a certain degree. I thought the Cybermen that they started using in Series 12 onwards, I thought they were pretty good until they did unspeakable things to them the week after.
Yeah, it's too kiddie.
And I quite like the new Sontarans, but I think these Sea Devils are pretty excellent, I have to say.
It looks too kiddified.
Head sculpt is exactly like the 70s one, really. And I think the costume is imaginative and layered and quite rich as design.
I don't really understand the crop top that's going on.
Well, that's a throwback to the vests that they wore in the original show.
Yeah, but the vest looks good. It looks like a lady Sea Devil.
Do you think he should have his navel pierced?
Yeah.
It's got a big belt, though, isn't he? Look at that big leather belt.
Yeah, look at the shoes. Just look at those shoes. I mean, they're from Top Man or something, aren't they? Really? Come on.
The shoes.
Yeah,
no, very odd.
Look, I discussed this with some friends, and they look too cuddly. The Sea Devils still got to look.
That's what I'm saying. They look kiddified. That's what they
I
do.
think they look
I
really
don't
good.
like them.
And I'll have an action figure of those.
Well, JT,
You
just
collect
hang on,
loads of stuff, don't you?
Never thought
Sorry?
I'd hear the day.
You collect a lot of stuff, so you're going to have to get it, aren't you?
I've always quite liked the Sea Devils, though, and you know I like them in the Sea Devils. I like them in Warriors of the Deep. I am gutted, of course, that they're returning in this god awful era, which I won't watch. But I do like the design, and congratulations to the people that put that one together. I think it looks really, really good, and I just wish it had been in a better version of the show.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. We're so close to the end of this diabolical era, and to see good stuff make it to screen, I kind of begrudgingly acknowledge the fact that it's pretty damn good. I'm sure the story will be absolutely awful, but yeah, you can close your eyes and look at this and think, okay, maybe if they keep the costumes hanging around, or maybe whoever takes over in the production department will
we all know
use
it's going to be a bait and switch. It's probably not even going to be about the Sea Devils. The Sea Devil will be in it for about 5 minutes.
Oh no, it will be.
It'll be about that Chinese pirate.
No, we know that because it's a lady pirate.
Yes.
It's like a famous lady pirate that history never knew about.
Oh, is that the story? Here we go again. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll tell you something. If Dan, Charlotte, and Barnaby are reviewing this thing, then they can tell us all about it and bore us all to death. That would be fabulous.
Good luck, Charlotte. Good luck.
Peter Harrington picks up on what you were saying there, JT, and says, well, wellies would be more appropriate for Sea Devils. Probably would.
Well, the original Sea Devils sort of had a big clunky foot, not like a hoof, but that sort of thing, didn't they, Simon?
I had a proper foot.
Like claw things. What did they do in Warriors? I can't remember. Did they have boots? No, they had the floppy things, didn't they? They had the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. They had feet. They had proper feet.
Yeah.
I remember.
I notice how that those of us who are still watching the new episodes grind out, are going to the classic series box sets as a palate cleanser in between courses, just like Cybermat Strikes, who says we need season 22 to palate cleanse after the Sea Devils at Easter. And season 22 is a season, we've spoken about it on this show, that's been somewhat unloved, I think. And it's right that it gets a bit of a reappraisal, Simon.
Yeah, absolutely. I still... Season 22 is an interesting one because definitely it was the point at which I was beginning to fall out of love with the series. Because definitely now it starts to decline with season 22, sadly. But I still love it. It's a little bit like we were talking about with Destiny a few minutes ago, Destiny the Daleks. It's of its era and it has its charms because of that. And certainly I am hugely excited by season 22 coming out because in my opinion, it's certainly the last great season of the classic run in my personal opinion. It's not great if we're honest.
All right.
Great, there's some great stuff in it. I love Attack of the Cybermen. Revelation of the Daleks is still in my top 10 all-time stories. So, I'm a happy bunny. I am looking forward to it.
And you're going to get to see the CGI versions of the Time Lash.
I'm actually really excited about that.
You are indeed, and that's segued beautifully into this because, if we can't get it on our shelves as quick as we hoped, we do have this from Gazelle Automations, who are the company behind all the funky new effects on season 22. This is the pimped up Time Lash here, everybody.
Oh, wow. Is that it? Oh, sorry. That really is not what I was expecting.
What they've done, they've explicitly stated that with these new effects, what they've done is they've used the original models for the Bandrel ship, for example. They've used the same models and just put new effects in there to keep it as authentic as they possibly could, but to give it a bit more momentum. And the Time Lash itself, how they've approached that is they've tried to model it after the Doctor Who title sequence and make it look as if it could have been achieved with 80s tech. Does that seem feasible to you, Ian, as somebody who used to work a quantum machine?
I mean, it's nice that they're trying to keep into the tone of that era and trying to do special effects better, but also trying to keep it in that tone as well. You got to take your hat off to them. They're doing their best. And quite frankly, when I was watching the Pertwee era, I preferred watching it with the upgraded special effects rather than the bad effects. So I would definitely watch this. Definitely.
Yeah, well, the only reason to watch Time Lash is to see the new effects on it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it's true. That is true. Very true.
I like Time Lash.
Lee's gonna have a
that's the reason why she hasn't been on, because she says things like that.
Well, here's a comparison shot between the classic, the vintage, and the new Carful itself there. That's how they've upgraded that model work. So there's a lot more work in there.
Yeah, I
think that looks nice.
Paul Darrow carries that story. I know.
Exactly.
And I like H.G. Wells. I like that reveal. So,
H.G. Wells, who set a trend in the modern reboot.
that's probably why I like it.
Maybe it's time for, as a problem being says in the chat, justice for Time Lash.
Absolutely.
Let's just say time for a review.
Let's just say a big well done to Gazelle Automations, because we've tried to get them on the show. They might be watching. Come and talk to us about how you approached it. Come on, you know it makes sense.
Yes, or if you want to go and follow them on Twitter, at them and say, please go and talk to Type 40. They're a bunch of good eggs, and they mostly like your work, mostly. So that's whetted the appetite a little for what's to come eventually when we do get it. Speaking of which, when we eventually get this,
for God's sake,
all our Christmases will be coming at once to finally see that happen. Yes, there'll be more coming up in a moment. More rumours, more nonsense, or is it nonsense?
To get crushed.
I don't know what's going.
Wanted to get knocked over by a car.
It won't happen like that anyway, because that's what everybody else does.
So violent. Apparently, those idiots who love the show on Twitter were, and we're going to move into this very shortly, but they're all devastated because apparently she drowns.
Oh, fantastic!
I had to leave her there.
Is it really graphic? Does she get eaten by a shark? Come on, give me some more news.
That's a big crossover, isn't it?
Yeah.
From one camera to another. That'd be a big crossover if there's a shark in it. That'd be quite fun. But
Oh dear.
Well, is the idea to see if she can actually walk on water, because they have treated her like a because I think it is time to segue into the story that everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it, aren't they? So, Doctor Who has been all over, not just social media, but the media everywhere the last few days. It exploded at the weekend into the newspapers to such an extent that it was hard to work out who had said what to who first. But there was one name at the dead centre of it, and it was the actor Hugh Grant, who, will need very little introduction to most people who've been going to the cinemas or renting VHS tapes, DVDs, or Blu-rays, or buying them or whatever. This man has had a huge career in movies. Let's have a look. So it's his Hugh Grant was tipped to be the new Doctor Who in a Marvel-style makeover for the hit show. The actor had first played the Doctor in a comic relief sketch, of course. Don't already know that. But it says Doctor Who may be heading for a Marvel-style makeover with Hugh Grant piloting the TARDIS, says a TV insider. Showrunner Russell T Davies is taking back control of the sci-fi series in time for its 60th anniversary. And the insider has said that Davies is keen for the 4 Weddings and a Funeral star, who's now 61, to bring a fresh feel to the role. That fresh feel is in inverted commas. So they claim that somebody has actually said this, and added he offers many attributes: a great actor, British, award-winning Hollywood A-lister, and excellent at comedy. Conversations are in progress. And it does finish off with that Davies is also said to want to expand the Doctor's horizons. That's something he said several times, isn't it, JT? That's no surprise. The linking of Hugh Grant to the role surprised a lot of people. It didn't necessarily surprise me because it's bobbed up a few times. Yeah. But once it broke with The Mirror, who up until now have a pretty spotless record when it comes to Doctor Who rumours, I thought this is the first rumour that I've seen in all these many, many months since Jodie announced she was leaving and Russell came in. This is the first rumour that not only got me properly excited, but actually, JT, I thought there's some weight to this. This could actually be true. There was something in the air.
Dan, hold on one second. Dan, has it ever occurred to you that Hugh Grant is lying? Has it ever occurred? Because I'll give you an example,
yes,
right?
We'll
Hugh
come to that as well.
Yeah, what you call it?
lying?
Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire went on TV shows and said they weren't in the latest Spider-Man. They literally said that to the audience, saying it's all a lie, blah blah blah.
I didn't know they were in that.
So that's what I'm saying. So you never know. Hugh Grant might.
Yeah,
be
so did
to lie.
So did Ewan McGregor with Star Wars. He was like, "Oh, I'm not going to do Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I mean,
not doing
just
Obi-Wan."
to clarify for the people who haven't seen, within 36 hours, this story got so big, was reported
Huge.
absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody picked it up from the Mirror, and even though the Mirror, in their original article, as we've just seen, all they were claiming, Simon, was that Hugh Grant was being tipped. But the people that picked it up from the Mirror,
Said he got
one
it.
by one, he was in secret talks. It just got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and to the point where obviously Hugh Grant got wind of it, because apparently he's quite active with Twitter. I didn't realize that. I certainly don't follow the guy, but he issued this within 36 hours. Nothing against Dr. W, but I'm not. No idea where this story came from, and my heart sank. My heart sank a little bit, Simon.
Did it? Really? Did it?
Yeah.
To clarify, every second of this completely passed me by. I had no idea.
You have been busy.
People were talking about Hugh, and I was like, "What? Hugh?
Call yourself a Doctor Who fan.
All of this passed me by, and I'm quite happy to say it did, because I don't give a stuff. I don't know why your heart sank. I mean, Hugh Grant, he's a very competent actor, probably, but is he going to be Doctor Who? I don't know. Do I want to be Doctor Who? I don't know, and I don't really care. I'll wait and see.
My feeling was, and I put this on social media, although obviously you heard my picks a few weeks ago on this show and everybody's picks. So this was somebody I've been aware of, and I've always never been in any doubt whatsoever that he could play a great Doctor Who. No doubt at all. But just like Michael Sheen, but I've never been particularly interested in seeing it. I've never wanted to campaign for it. But it's the kind of, if this had have happened, I would have had total confidence in him, JT. Do you see why?
Yeah, I do. I mean, this was it was an incredible reaction. This was put on the paper on the Sunday, and by the Monday it was front page news on some of our tabloids here in the United Kingdom. And it actually was, I on the Monday I was walking around in an absolute sort of happy feeling, if you like, because it was Hugh Grant was tipped to be the Doctor when there were rumours going around back in 94, 95 that the show was coming back, which have ended up being the 96 TV movie. And then again in 2003, immediately as Lorraine Hexie announced the show was coming back, within that year to 2004, it was rumoured that he was associated with the role as well. So it's nothing new.
And he had been asked, hadn't he? Which
yes,
we found out a few years later.
Yeah. And so we've got that. So it was no real fit. But this time round on Monday, it was amazing because it sort of fit. For myself, I was like, actually, that would show a seriousness as to where they're taking the show now. And I sort of got used to that. But also the brilliant thing was I walking around on Monday and people were coming up to me saying, Hugh Grant's the new Doctor Who. Oh, we're going to watch that, which I hadn't heard in years, and it just seemed to gel and fit. So when Hugh comes out on the Tuesday to deny these front page headlines, and there we go, it was a real case of, oh bugger,
Hugh's lying. He's lying.
People were really excited. But you're right, JT. People were really excited by this, and I'm not quite as out as Simon seems to be with this. I was stirred by this. Even though he's 61, I think he's got great range. He can do the comedy. He's still very active. He's got this charisma. He's got a doctorishness about him.
But doesn't it feel a bit safe? Do you know what I mean? It just feels a bit.
Yes, it does.
Safe, a bit.
Yep.
The program is in trouble at the moment, though, Simon. It's got this massive crisis of identity, and I think that's why I felt reassured by it. Do you know what I mean?
So I was exactly the same. I thought, right, if they've gone for Hugh, and honestly, I mean, I'm hoping BBC Studios and Bad Wolf have actually seen the acceptance so quickly from the British public to the fact that here's Doctor Who as Hugh Grant. I mean, hopefully that's an indicator of how serious they're going to be. And can I just say as well, just now, I've seen a lot of stuff, obviously, this week on all the nonsense, but let's just remind certain fans that are going on, this is no longer a BBC production. This is BBC Studios with Bad Wolf. They have money. Don't be worried now about Doctor Who not having any budget behind it. They have money.
I think we said on the last show, didn't we, JT, that there is no casting choice within reason that they can't get. If they could manage to get James McAvoy back on TV for his Dark Materials, they could get Hugh Grant for the show, no problem. He's already said he wants to do more TV. So I don't think a lot of people have been saying over the week that this was a ridiculous idea. He was never going to do it. There's a few people in the chat at the moment saying, I never believe this anyway. Hugh Grant has said he wants to do more TV. Doctor Who under Bad Wolf is going to be a fucking big deal.
So that's the thing, you see, most actors are going towards TV because cinema is kind of up and down, and Netflix is Hollywood now. Yes. Hollywood is not Hollywood. It's called Netflix.
Who wins all the awards, Geeky?
Sorry?
Who wins all the awards?
Netflix. I'm saying, so Hollywood is Netflix. They might as well just change the sign to Netflix instead of Hollywood because they actually rule that thing. So I consider this. He might be lying. That's all I'm saying. He might be the Doctor.
People want to work with Russell. I mean, Russell, people want to work with Russell.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
He brought Doctor Who back. He's won multiple, a very British scandal.
Yes.
Years and years. It's a sin.
He was also
tremendously, and he's got that reputation.
Yeah. He was in that TV show with Nicole Kidman, wasn't he? It was an American.
Yeah, that was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was in that, and that was a big hit apparently. So
it was called The Undoing. It was for HBO, a mini series with Nicole Kidman in 2020. That was just the latest of many roles that ever since Hugh Grant had an epiphany of sorts a few years ago. I say I don't want to go too far down this road because he hasn't got the role at the end of the day, but he made a series of very, very successful romantic comedies, some of which I believe sort of flexed that format, that medium, as far as it really could go. And apparently the pay was fantastic in making those movies. And he had some of the best leading ladies in the 90s, the noughties, whatever you want to call it. Great career, good payday. He made 2 or 3 too many. And I think he realised that and stepped away from it and refocused his career and started to, he started to choose completely different roles. He was in Cloud Atlas, the Wachowski's film.
Paddington.
Film for
I loved Paddington too.
Lovely. Great stuff.
Yeah. That showed his versatility because he was absolutely hilarious.
He was.
A couple of films with Guy Ritchie too. I understand he's the villain in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and in
The Gentleman. He's a villain. In Man from U.N.C.L.E. he was one of the guys, one of the good guys. So, but in Paddington, he was absolutely brilliant. He made me laugh so much. That guy
making more interesting choices and turning up in more diverse roles, Sarah.
Yeah, and I was really excited about it, and I believe it is in the realm of possibility. Obviously,
he's lying.
Because Russell, did approach him about it previously. So I really think it maybe has got that itch to scratch like Moffat had with Peter Capaldi. He was adamant he wanted him at some point.
I certainly think what's interesting about this is that Hugh Grant clearly is on an entirely different level to certain other people who have recently played a role. They're not even, they can't even be in the same book, let alone on the same page. Hugh Grant really is of the kind of caliber and the gravitas that we've all always said the role demands. And so from that point of view, I have to concede he ticks every single one of the boxes. And kind of blows out of the water really as a bad memory or a bad smell that somebody left behind as they left the room. Somebody who maybe vacated.
Fart in the car, mate. That's what it is.
It's interesting. It's interesting you say that, Sorry. I don't know if you saw this, JT. Some of the morning TV shows, there was a couple of women talking really excitedly about this prospect, and it was like Tenant Mania again, and it was like, oh, if Hugh Grant's going to be it, I'm going to tune in.
Yes.
Obviously, a lot of the women
Yeah.
Charlotte, you know this. They've gone.
Let's be balanced up here. There's a lot of fellas that think the same thing. Let's get that out of the way right now. But the brilliant thing about Hugh Grant, to tie in what Simon's saying there, is the word is credibility. The show has lost credibility. The role of the Doctor has lost its credibility. We have lost, as we've gone over many times here, it has lost the British public, never mind the majority of the sensible fan base. To have that wonderful Monday and Tuesday morning where people were actually doing that, Sarah, and it was on TV, it was on breakfast shows, it was people coming up to you in the street and saying, oh my God, I'm going to watch it. It felt like the show had a chance again because he was bringing a credible background and ability to it, and that's what the Doctor needs. And I'm gutted, but let's keep the fingers crossed that
JT, you have to wonder though if you've picked up on that, and I have, and even though Simon's been even though Simon's been doing other things, but I think that a lot of us have probably heard versions of a similar kind of a feeling in the air. Surely somebody at the BBC might have picked up on this, and maybe this is some sort of, again, a litmus test to see, because we know that they use social media to gauge reactions. They must have seen the reaction.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you can't miss the front pages, and we know that these production companies have to get every paper going in case they're mentioned or up for an award. But it's a real case of they would have seen that. I'm hoping, I've got my fingers crossed that isn't too far from the truth, and that Hugh Grant isn't too far from what could be happening. And let's but yeah, they would have. They must have sensed that down in Cardiff.
Oh no, they would have, because on Twitter, I know stuff can be forced to trend, but it naturally trended. It wasn't the BBC paying for the current era when it suddenly trends. But it was natural. It was people talking, and that's why when I heard it, because I didn't know Hugh from the rom-com stuff, but I've not watched any of his.
No, she's gone. Oh, she's back.
No, sorry. And I think it's a good curiosity factor, not the sort of gimmicky curiosity like a certain Doctor. It's actually curiosity of, I wonder what he'd do. I wonder what kind of Doctor he would play.
Absolutely, yes.
And I think
that's what you want, isn't it?
People were talking about, and that's what whoever's cast for 14, we need that sort of intrigue to go with the name, and I think Hugh was creating that, honestly.
I think he'd make a really good Doctor, though. I really think he would. And obviously he'll bring his Hugh Grantness to the role, which is welcomed, because I think he's very funny, and I've always been a huge fan of Hugh Grant. I think a lot of people used to slag him off. Yes, we know he's done a couple of things, whatever. But the thing is, though, every time I see him on screen, even if it's a crappy movie, he always makes me laugh. And I think for that, I'll take that off.
He never phones it in. He never phones it in, Hugh Grant. And I think that kind of actor, that kind of caliber. And you know what? I'm going to say that the longer that Russell T Davies stays on that show, the greater the possibility that Hugh Grant's going to turn up in it will be, because he's worked with him on A Very British Scandal already. That he was brilliant in that, and he's continuing to make interesting choices. He was obviously, I loved seeing him in The Curse of Fatal Death all those years ago. So nice bit of fun, but it's not the same as actually playing the Doctor. We've got some comments here from everybody on YouTube. Wendology says, when the bigger news outlets started paying attention to the rumor, it did make me think. Could be. Yeah. The Time Prophet says they leaked this story on purpose to hide the real Doctor Who will be somebody else. Come on, guys.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Simon Ashley says, naughty Time Prophet. Simon Ashley says, I know this might be in the minority, but I didn't think Jodie was that bad.
Oh, okay.
Simon, I'm pleased you've enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed it, sincerely, I'm pleased you have, and I hope you enjoyed the last two episodes. You are in the minority, generally speaking, not but sincerely, I hope you enjoy the remainder of the era. At the time, Modulus says, mind you, he only says he is not in talks.
No,
he could be chosen.
The guy is lying.
He's lying. I really can't see a professional like Mr. Grant doing that. He's a consummate professional. He's got a superb reputation in the industry. He's gone out of his way there to say it's nothing to do with me. I don't know anything about this. It shows he's seen it. I can't see him lying at all. But let's just hope that.
Also, JT, he's a 61-year-old bloke. He's not going to be playing games for.
He's been told to lie.
Either he can't be done with any of that. He's very to the point, and he's very much bugger off if he doesn't like something. And good for him.
Hey.
I think he'll be fantastic as the Doctor. I hope he's lying, and I hope he's been cast as the Doctor, because I would watch that in a heartbeat just to see how he tackles it. Yeah.
Everybody would. They get everybody back. They
everybody
get fandom back, and they get the British public back simply because of how people reacted on the Monday. And I thought it was a magical special day, and we should actually sort of remember that.
It's really funny because I never considered him as the Doctor. I knew he played in a sketch of the Doctor, but I never considered him as. And in fact, the age that he is now, he's perfect. Do you know what I mean? So it's a shame if this is all a rumor and it's not true.
Well, the bad part in many ways of all of this is just think how disappointed we're all going to be when the actual person is announced. It's going to be
the bloke who runs the CAF on EastEnders or something like that.
If it is something like that, then they're going to lose any credibility that Hugh's helped them to get suddenly that the show is serious again, aren't they? If they do cast a second-rate soap actor like they have been doing over the last few years, the show's gone. It's lost. Don't even bother putting the money in.
But you're
I can't see them doing that.
You're absolutely right, JT, because they have to talk to the international as well as the UK market now. They have to do that, otherwise it's completely lost. And the trick is in the casting. That's the thing that will connect everything. Cast the right person.
If they get the casting of the Doctor wrong, there goes the Marvel style universe of all the spin-offs.
Screwed.
It goes because you've got to have a solid lead performance now who can build the series back up, make us believe the Doctor is real, and then introduce all his new friends around him, each of whom will have a specific design show or animation or whatever to fill this entire channel, the Whoniverse, as we assume it's going to be later on as they grow the series. I mean, Russell's done it once successfully. He had Doctor Who, he had Sarah Jane Adventures, he had Torchwood. That went down the pan when he left. He can successfully do that copy again if they get the lead correct. If you mess up this lead now, if you mess around with the character of the Doctor like they have done just now, forget it.
I think, JT, that's echoed. I think that's echoed with a lot of feeling in the chat. Sorry, and a lot of feeling in the chat is very much chiming with what JT's saying. There's a lot of appetite for Hugh Grant. There really is, and a few mentions of Hugh Laurie as well. Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie's great.
Jack Thursby says, "My interest in the show in its current form is hanging by a thread. The next era better be really
not the only one, mate.
Or it's
not
over for me. It's all or nothing. And a safe pair of hands, a formidable actor, is the only way to go. Hugh Grant is younger than Peter Capaldi. No, he's not. He's older.
No, he's older.
That's what the Marvel Universe realized when they cast Robbie Downey Jr. as Iron Man. They knew he was going to bring his Robbie Downey Jr. to the character. And the same thing with Hugh Grant. If they cast Hugh Grant as the Doctor, he'll bring Hugh Grant to the role. And everybody knows who Hugh Grant is. And then there'll be a gravitation towards the show. And then,
his fan base. Like, that'd be massive if that comes into the show. And I think that's what's going to be interesting, though, because I was on another stream talking about this. Whoever is cast, it's going to be interesting to see what fans they just naturally bring in.
Yeah.
And whether they'll be here for the long haul or they'll just disappear with the actor. It's going to be interesting for that.
It's interesting you're saying that, Charlotte, because you're coming from that point of view of a younger person will come for it. It doesn't necessarily work like that with the likes of Hugh Grant and stuff, because we just didn't do that back in the old days.
No, we didn't.
We didn't really have fan bases for particular actors and stuff. You just liked them and you're just around. They didn't have fan clubs like all these so-called celebrities today. For just turning up and sitting on a big red chair and telling people how they've done the day, play bugger off. But we didn't have that back then. So it's because he's aware he's an actual star.
Yeah, you're right. And when you're right, you're right.
Even though
I know.
Those of us, I think how we've spoken about this is with obviously he's not doing it for all that we know. Ian.
He's lying.
He's not doing it. But
give him the offer.
I think the fact that it did have this, it wasn't on the same level as when Jodie left or when Russell came in the autumn. When it was close to Euphoria. But it was a rumble. It was a, oh my God, this could be for real. Yeah. This is the kind of thing that could happen, and I just hope that it stoked people's imaginations, because there is very little left from the embers of what's happened of late.
Now,
I don't know what I did. I don't know what happened.
Did you do that, Dan?
Nothing to see here. Move along.
Nothing to see.
This is fine.
But you know what, right? If they did cast a male, then oh my god, that would shit all over what happened on the Jodie
Well,
thing,
it's
wouldn't it?
interesting, isn't it? It's interesting you say that, and I don't know if Dan's ready to come to this yet, but on Monday, it was hilarious. The response from the small, horrible minority of fans and their reaction to that. Now, I'm hoping that the BBC Studios people and the Bad Wolf people have watched that reaction, because you know what? I've got a message to the BBC. That's the element of poisonous, horrible, nasty, vile people you allowed into our precious fandom, and you've encouraged over 4 years. You read those tweets, you see how vicious, racist, sexist, and bigoted they are. Have a look at that, and then get the show sorted and get them out.
Yeah, but BBC's part of that.
They've unwittingly stoked that fire. And you know
They
what? I've always said on the Type 40 podcast that we are like non-gatekeeping. I'm starting to regret ever saying that, because we should have gatekept this fandom. We should have protected this show better to keep a lot of these vile, racist and sexist characters out, because you're right, the reception to this just being a possibility, I think most of fandom felt as we did. In fact, I know they did.
Proper
Some
fandom.
of the most vile things I have ever seen were said all over Twitter. I know that Twitter's no barometer of sense and reason, of course it isn't, but this should expose to anybody in any doubt what's gone on with this show and why it is an absolute train wreck of an IP at the moment, and why it so desperately needs saving by Julie Gardner, by Russell T Davies, by Jane Tranter, and by everybody at Bad Wolf. They have to save the show, the fandom, the intellectual property from this kind of toxicity. This is absolutely...
They're the polite ones, by the way, everybody.
Things got considerably worse than this. No more ugly white men as the Doctor, Sarah. We've got if Doctor Who goes back to having middle-aged old white men as the Doctor, I'll cry and throw up on the steps of the BB.
Diddums.
It is absolutely...
I haven't got any patience.
But these are the people that have been for 4 years hounding all of us original and proper and built-in Doctor Who fans that have supported it for many, many years, who have accused us of racism, sexism, all this misogyny, homophobia, transphobia, all this absolute nonsense, which gets me so angry. And here they are, and these Facebookers are the nicer ones. It got worse, and I felt for Hugh at that point. And as I say, I hope BBC Studios and Bad Wolf have seen the reaction there, have gone, oh, we have a really big problem here.
Yeah, but the problem is that because we've had an era and a Doctor that blatantly pandered to a demographic, they're expecting the next Doctor to pander to them again.
Yes.
And that the fact that the Doctor is now no longer about the character. That's what this showed to me when I saw bits and bobs of these tweets. I was like, right, you've just shown to everybody that you don't care about the character of the Doctor. You don't care about any nuance. All you care about is the sex, the gender, and everything that is not important at all.
Because the thing is, you see, had the production team played it right, okay, if they were insistent on casting a female as the Doctor, fine, and they had the justification to do that, that's one thing. Had they just left it at that, and had they just dropped in a female into the role, and then got that would be one thing. But of course, what they did, they weren't satisfied with that. They had to just grind everybody's faces into the dirt and constantly remind them how much better they were, because for the first time they cast the part as a female when it should have been cast as a female in the first days. And so what were we all doing for the first 50 years? Wasting our time. And that's the problem. They turn Charlotte's right. Instead of just dropping the right actress into the role, if you really felt in your heart that the right actress came along for the role, instead of just doing that and then running with the best possible stories, they didn't do that. They just went on and on and on about constantly banging this political message home. And so that's the problem that it's become, and that's what stoked the fires of this kind of toxicity. Instead of just finding the right person for the role and saying the role, it just happens to be a female, the best person we found for the role was a woman. But I can still remember Chris Chibnall saying we went out to cast a woman for this role.
Yes.
We decided it was time for a woman. We wanted a woman. Now that to me is the wrong way to do it. You go and find the best person for the role, and if it happens to be a woman, okay, you've got a bit of work to do to argue your case for wanting a woman, because it is a historic male role. So you've still got a bit of traction to do there.
Yeah.
But it is doable. It is doable, and they could have won us over, but no. They had to constantly remind us how much better off they were. They were morally taking that moral high ground.
Simon, do you think that the general audience, rather than the fan base, do you think the general audience who are away from this discussion, of that dialogue, and certainly away from Twitter, have a kind of a bullshit detector to know whether something feels right at the right time, whether something is something they will instinctively invest in? The way those people said to JT or Jack in the street, people would stop. They just hear something and think, that chimes with me at this moment in time. Yes, I would watch that for an hour a week. Is that?
I think the truth of it is, unfortunately, this that we're talking about is not restricted to Doctor Who. This is
I meant generally, yeah.
You know, society has become polarized between the kind of people that you're talking about there, Dan, who actually, which is what I'm saying, the best. You just want the best for a show, and it just happens to be that. Okay, I'll run with that. And then the people that you've just shown the messages from, saying basically, no, it has no more of these white men.
The situation is, though, factually in real life as well as on Twitter and all this. Yeah, Britain is mixed now. Now, thankfully, these radical activists who are extreme left-wing ideologists who think they're American are actually quite small in number. They just seem that there's an awful lot of them because they're loud. Now, in Doctor Who, in our fandom, they are very, very vocal, but all they'll ever do is watch the Jodie Whittaker era. And we've already seen the proof of this twice. Last year, when we said in January last year, she's going. And then there was this thing on Twitter about, well, if the next one's a man, I'm not going to watch. That's just been repeated with the Hugh Grant speculation.
Yeah.
But if you look across the board, we are British. We can smell bullshit a mile away. We are not American. We don't go with all the ideology. We are British. We understand that's a load of old
present
rubbish.
company accepted Americans watching it.
But we are not American. We have a different take on life. We have different policies. We have a different view, and we should be proud of that. We shouldn't be following the American lead.
But also,
hang on a minute. Sorry, let me finish. And on top of that, what we do is look at the output of that's going on television. EastEnders is down to around about 2 million now because the BBC went down more ideological, more woke nonsense. Look at the rise of GB News. That's getting stronger and stronger and stronger every day. We can do this, and that's why we're rejecting, and that's why the Hugh Grant speculation was a breath of fresh air, because the British public went, that's an actor. That shows how credible the show's going to be, what the stories could be, how it's going to be strong. Yeah, we'll watch that.
And there were a couple of really quite neutral and completely anonymous polls run also on Twitter, which whilst, Twitter is Twitter and it's not a real place, this does sort of balance out the toxicity. And yes, Hugh Grant isn't doing it, but there's a possibility that
he's lying.
Someone of his caliber, of his ability, and of his credibility may take that role, and even of his ethnicity and gender may take that role. And this is what the general reaction was. This was a poll that was put out. I'm not going to name who it was. I'm not sure if they want me to, but this is the poll that was run. And 55.6% of voters said, yes, Hugh is the Doctor. And just 19.8%, near enough 20%, said, no, I can't see it.
And they're the ones with dyed blue rainbow hair and believe in unicorns and fantasies.
Or they're people who've never liked him in the first place, because he has been one of those actors. There are plenty of people out there who say, oh, I can't stand that thing he does. Which, if they haven't seen a film since Love Actually, I can completely get why. And there's other people in the middle, 25% near enough, saying not sure, but I'd give it a go. So that is a conclusive. People would largely get behind it. And I think that should act as a little bit of a white pill, that even on Twitter, there are sensible people and more generous people who maybe just keep quiet. I don't know.
Yeah, but don't underestimate their stubbornnness, though. Don't underestimate those kind of stupid people's stubbornness, especially some of them in Hollywood, Sorry.
They've been a lot more vicious recently because, like we were saying, it's coming to the end of their era.
Well, it's not just that, Sarah. It's because in reality, what they've been peddling for 4 years now is becoming more ingrained with our real life, and it's affecting our at work. It's affecting our social life. It's affecting our television, and people are becoming aware. I mean, this week as well, certain situations in the sporting world have really woken people up, and they're starting to look at the bigger picture now, and they're going, hang on a minute. And that's why I keep saying the British people will turn around and go, you expect us to believe that? Bugger off. No, thank you. That is black. Black is black. White is white. That's that. Out. And the tide could be turning.
I'm not being a follower of sport. You know, I had no idea what was going on over there. So I've had an eye opener. I don't know how I've not come to any conclusive opinions about it, but the fact that a lot of people don't even know that there's a discussion that could be had out there, that a lot of these things are being sat on, I think that's terrible. It says something terrible about the modern world, and that's about something that could potentially matter to a lot of people. Whereas TV shows and movies and things like that, you know, they mean a lot to us. Of course they do, and I would never play that down as somebody who runs a show like this and who wants to talk about it all the time. But you think, well, if they will lie and they will manipulate popular culture, what would they do with the things that really matter? And that's
they're grooming kids now, aren't they? Disney's this big thing about.
Let's have a look at what people are saying in the chat. Problem Being says mediocre minds celebrating mediocre Doctor Who. I don't want mediocrity. I want exceptionalism. I think we've got a good shot. I think we've got a good shot at something exceptional and still characteristically Doctor Who.
We also want escapism, don't we, Lee? Because we want to be taken away from the problems of the real world. Right now, the 21st century world is crap. It's not what they told me it was going to be when I was 5 or 6 at primary school, when they told me it was all going to be silver spacesuits and flying cars and no money.
No flying cars.
Where's that?
Thursby, he says he's lying. He agrees.
He's lying.
Ian's got a new catchphrase. Ian's got.
Get the mugs. Get the mugs. Sean Pertwee says
he's lying.
Gets my vote. Sean Pertwee, gets my vote. Says Doc Martin. No, Sean Pertwee's not in the chat. Simon Ashley says, I totally agree with everyone. People like that are disgusting. Yeah, it's everything in moderation, Simon. There are bad eggs everywhere. Of course there are bad examples everywhere. Unicorns with a fez are cool, says
the problem we've got now is that everybody has pandered to this small new. And remember as well, going back to what Simon was saying before, when Chibnall took over and we knew that Capaldi was being pushed out because Chibnall wanted a female doctor, and that was very clear. He and Whittaker then also went on record to say, we want a brand new audience. All the old white Doctor Who fans are not wanted. And they welcomed this lot in. So there's your brand new audience. They are vile, nasty people. And now we're trying to say, look what you've done to the fandom. Can you imagine all of us going to a convention in the future if the show ever gets back to being proper again? And they're there. Not that they will be, but can you imagine? It's just going to be war because they won't tolerate us.
No, they won't be there, JT, because they don't care about the show. As Charlotte said, all they care about is the tick boxing thing. That's all they care about. They don't really care about the show, so they won't be there. So
let's hope not. Let's hope not, and let's hope the casting. I really want a white man in the role next.
So do I. I believe the Doctor is an English upper class geezer. That's what I believe. But I just hope the next one is of that ilk. I'm hoping.
Talking about white men.
He's lying. Yeah.
Talking about white men. It's time to welcome this white man.
Here we go.
He's taken his place. He's waiting patiently because it is that time. That time in the show. Newcomers may not know this. Before we come back with more of that. Now stick with us for the second half of the show. We've got more to come. More to come from Russell T Davies in particular. And that's after we take a look inside a certain golden leather-bound tome that Simon always has to hand. And if you see, the Doctor's got it there. He's reading it on his way to the boys' room. He is, yeah. But yeah, before we get into that, we're going to the ad break in a minute. But I wanted to ask you guys a quick question. Okay, so we're going to give you the answer after the break. But as you may or may not know, if you're a comics enthusiast, maybe you're not, but Doctor Who has had a long, prestigious history in comics, a near unbroken run in the medium throughout nearly the entire time that's been on the telly across all these different publishers, both here in the UK and in America. And his very first appearance in comic book form was here in TV comic issue number 674. And this very copy was listed last week for auction with a popular online comics auction house. Yes, there are specialist places for these things. Now, it contains William Hartnell as the first Doctor. Hashtag Hartnell was first. And it's the very first comic strip appearance of the Doctor in a lovely centre. Absolutely beautiful art by Neville Main there. So yes, this was up for auction. I want you to tell me how much you think issue 674 raised at auction when it was auctioned off a few days ago. We're going to let you know after the ad break exactly how much it is. We're going to have some guesses from the panel and maybe from the people in the chat too. But yeah, we're going to the ads now. Take a look at these. You may have seen some of these before, but maybe you won't. So we're going to see you back here in a couple of minutes. Enjoy.
Attention all Daleks, look for these special Doctor Who packs of Weetabix. Each one has one of these 4 Doctor Who action games, 3 of these stand-up figures, and a secret message from the Time Lords. We must capture these special packs of Weetabix and exterminate.
Collect the special Doctor Who Weetabix packs and enjoy your daily wheat while stocks last.
Exterminate.
Did you know there have actually been 10 Doctor Who's? Yeah, the Daleks were originally called the Mutants, and TARDIS stands for Time and Relative Dimensions in Space.
Radio Times. You're more informed because we're more informed.
Welcome back to Type 40 Live here on the Spacebook channel for more conversation and more discussion and more trivia. That's coming up in a couple of minutes. But before the ad break, I mentioned to you, didn't I, that this comic had been put up for auction, this edition of TV comic from 1964, all the way back in 1964. And I put it to you that it had been auctioned off. But how much did this vintage comic featuring the very first comic book appearances of the first Doctor, how much could it possibly have raised when it went to auction? So over to my friends here in the chat for their best punts, David Dickinson style. Give us, what do you think this raised at auction, Sarah?
Oh, I don't know, because it's such a niche thing. I'm going to say 10,000.
10,000? They are niche items. This was a really widely read comic book, wasn't it, Simon? Like from the 50s, I think, all the way up to the early 80s. It was a long running thing.
Oh, I used to have TV comic. I love the fact that they've actually got in a bit of early proper branding. They've even got near enough the correct Doctor Who there is in the screen. So that's pretty impressive. I'm going to punt a guess at I don't know, £240. That's right there
from the original Lunatic. How about you, JT, as the collector in the Doctor Who loft? Have you got this already stashed away in there somewhere?
It's a sore point. Let's move on from that one.
Okay, that's okay.
I'll take that as a no.
No, not anymore. But I've got the classic comics that Marvel did years ago, which reprinted all these beautiful things. But TV comic for me always reminds me of St. John's Primary when I was a kid and I was at primary school, because when it rained, they get the comic books out, the comic book box out. And they had that particular one. They had loads of TV comics that everybody, and I remember reading that as a young. I'm thinking, oh my god, and then being embroiled by it. And that little thing, you can see the cell there with the TARDIS spinning around in the corner as it dematerializes. That is for me. That's the thing I always remember and always associate with that comic. And it got me into the TV comics. I read right up to Tom Baker. And then, because that's when I started, my mum and dad would buy me it as well occasionally, and I read it all because of primary school. So thank you so much to they're probably all on dead, aren't they? Let's face it, the teachers of that school, but thank you. I would say it went, because the artwork is so classic throughout TV comic, I'm going to go for 25,000.
Oh, really? I'm way out there.
25,000. Any idea what would you put on this, Charlotte?
Oh God, I'm just as bad as last time. I'll say 5,000 because we all thought it would be quite low and it was higher. So I'm going a bit higher than what I initially would have guessed.
Higher.
Any ideas, Ian?
I think I agree with JT. I think 25 to 30,000 because this is one of the original, isn't it? This is the original comic. It's the one of the first reprints and stuff, and those kind of things, they go for a lot of money. A crap
and
load
it's
of
art
money.
as well. It's now, I think it's now classed as pop art.
Yeah, it is.
Is that right, Dan? The graphic art.
Near
comic book art.
Yeah, and it's collectible now, isn't it? So yeah. I mean, look how much the look-ins you now go for.
Oh my god, yes.
I
used to have a shitload of
in the chat. I think TV comic was similar, wasn't it? But it was more comics based, obviously. But there's a lot of comic strips in Look Into. We have 5K from Carol Jude. It's a good guess there. I understand we've got some more comic auction. My guess from the Rabbi from another planet. He's putting 6K down on that, $6,000 down on that one.
What's that in pounds, shilling and pence?
About 4,000.
$4,000, yeah.
It wouldn't go for 4, would it?
Z3PO says 275 quid there. Jack Thursby's in at 5.5K. And
he needs warmed up, doesn't he, Jack? Every time I see Jack, he's in the blue. Let's warm him up.
63 quid says Robert Payne, and £2,000 from Jack Thursby, Chilly Jack Thursby, as he's now going to be known. Oh no, he's upped it. He's doubled it to $4,000.
Come on,
Let's put you all out of your misery. Okay, it actually raised £461, 26p on the dedicated comics auction site.
The hell?
Phil's Comics, in very good condition. I think that's underselling it. I thought it was in beautiful nick. I was impressed by that one, JT. So
that's an investment if everyone, because that's going to go up and up and up. And the further away we get from the 60s, as we know as collectors, you cannot get any of the 60s stuff. It's getting very difficult now to find the 70s sort of stuff around. That's a nice price. That's an investment. Sell that in 10 years' time. You'll get a good price for it.
Yeah. So I think you were the closest, Simon.
I think I probably was, remarkably. But after everybody's guesses, I was thinking I was way off, and it looks like I was. But I still couldn't have afforded £460 for that. But it's well done whoever bought it. I'm green with envy. I'm green in the way that Kermit the Frog is green. Oh, Kermit for Doctor Who.
Obviously, to Doctor Who fans, 400 odd quid, whatever. It's priceless. And there is another august tome, which is absolutely priceless to us here at Type 40 Live. It's... You know what I'm talking about. It's the Doctor Who Diary, and Simon Horton's back with more delicious denotations from this wonderful item.
Go for a pee now, everybody. Diary.
This is the goal. This is the good stuff. Shut up, you. Yes, welcome back, Simon. What have you got for us this time?
Well, we're actually going to go back in time from the most recent this time. Normally we start at the oldest and we go forward. This time we start at the most recent, which is 17 years ago since we were sitting down to watch Rose in 2005, which, I mean, remarkably, this still feels like yesterday to me, not 17 years ago.
Does it really?
It does to me. It seems remarkably recent, this does still. Oh. I can't believe that, in effect, 17 years has passed since this, in the same way that we were just talking about season 17 earlier. So this is as far away from today, Rose is, as Destiny the Daleks is from an unearthly child.
Wow.
Whoa, that's quite head.
I'm
weird.
old.
Yeah, that's sort of blown my mind a little.
Yeah. I'll be watching this on Saturday. Just
See, this is what I keep
always
saying.
do that.
Is that a tradition
Sorry,
you've got,
I-
Sarah? Do you,
It
do you
is, yeah,
rewatch
I
that
do.
on the
Good
date?
for you. Good for you. I can still remember, I've told this story before, but it still haunts me that I was at a wedding on this day, and I remember the entire congregation at the wedding were just mortified because they all wanted to be watching Doctor Who. And we were
Oh,
all-
really?
And I felt really sorry for the couple because they were just kind of, they knew nobody wanted to be at the wedding. Everybody wanted to be watching.
Oh, that's
Doctor Who.
horrible.
It's
Poor-
really
I mean, I'm
horrible.
going to say it now because it, I say this a lot and it upsets people, and I'm going to say it again and run the risk of upsetting people. It proves now it's an old show.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, here's the thing. This puts it in context for you. Nearly 11 million people watched this particular episode.
I was one of them. I was one of them.
Same here.
Yeah, and that was the overnight, which was measured differently to how it is now. That's the important thing. You cannot bring 2005 to 2008 into the same equation because the 2005 series was measured in a different way. It was done with bums on seats on the night.
Yeah.
That's important.
Quite right.
I'm really surprised how Billie Piper looks very different today. Obviously, she's grown, obviously, but her facial structure is very different. I don't know if she's had work done or anything like that.
Of course she's had work done. She's like a quilt.
Oh, really?
Oh dear.
But we still love her.
Yeah, I'm really, really fond of this piece of television. In fact, we've got a review coming up on the podcast very, very soon. We'll be doing a deep dive on Rose and the End of the World and the Unquiet Dead. So stay tuned to the podcatchers.
I admit, I was very
for that.
disappointed with that episode. Very disappointed, but hey, that's another stream.
But the excitement surrounding it, I think it's still there. I think every time I play this episode, Sarah, and those initial scenes, even though it's quite primitive, even compared to what would come 2 or 3 years later on the show, I still get that excitement. I still get really excited watching Rose.
Yeah, there's just something about Eccleston, that performance. It was magnetic, and Rose is such a brilliant companion, and the way she was set up, and I know it's all old ground now, but just the basic stuff of set this companion up, wearing her shoes, we're doing this together, and we wanted to find out who this mysterious man was who saved her life, and at the end when she first turns him down because she wants Mickey's clinging on to, you're like, no, what are you doing, woman? And when she just runs in and that smile, and it's just
In slow motion.
Oh, what's going to happen next? And it was just incredible.
Sarah,
Yeah.
how old were you 7 years ago when this episode came out?
I was the same age as Rose. I was 19.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
But that was the first time that you saw it, wasn't it? Sarah, it was the first time you actually got introduced to Doctor Who. You never saw the classics.
and Charlotte.
I watched
Oh, sorry, and Charlotte. Yeah.
I watched the TV movie.
Right, I
It
got you.
didn't grab me as much as this.
Well, this was the first time I'd seen Rose was my first Doctor Who.
Wow.
Of anything.
Wow.
Like
That's crazy.
Did it grab you immediately, Charlotte, or did it take time to grow on you?
I think certain bits grabbed me. I think I really did like Rose. I can remember thinking I could see this sort of young girl, and at my age at that point, I was quite young, so I could sort of see that excitement and wanting to do more. And I think the scene that always clicks with me, because just taking into context, I hadn't seen inside a TARDIS. So Rose was my first scene inside of a TARDIS moment. And when she goes in and she cries and she's so shocked, it was mirroring me, because obviously I knew the rough thing of, it's a box, right? And it's bigger on the inside. That's the back. That was my very rough knowing of what TARDIS was.
Wow.
So when they do that scene of her walking in, I can just remember thinking at the time, I'm not going to get this anywhere else. Like, where else am I going to get anything like this? And it
was
hit me.
and that's how you would react to it, because there's so many things on TV and in films where they just run in and they're just not bothered. It's not affecting them at all. That's not realistic.
The thing. They got the wow factor. They got the magic. They got this extraordinary moment, and I think it works so well because they've made it so real with her, like waking up in a bedroom, still living at home, like hating a job. And then you had just the Doctor just being this figure that just appeared as well. I love that he wasn't. And that's another thing that I find so funny, that some of the current fans go, oh, like females were never important in the show. Well, what's the title called? Rose. Who's the main character?
He couldn't have said it any. He couldn't have said it any louder, could he? Yeah, it's. I think it stirs up memories for most of us. I think some people begrudgingly like it, or just like the associations that it kicked off such an exciting time. Talking about exciting times, Simon, we've got another one coming up, haven't we, for 80s survivors in particular?
Yes, absolutely. We're going back a few more years now. 40 years since this particular one. Time Flight episodes 1 and 2 were screened in 1982, 40 years ago. And there, of course, is the great and sadly missed John Nathan Turner, producer at the time, proudly in front of Concorde. And certainly, I mean, again, interestingly, every episode that we're going to talk about today got over 10 million viewers. This one was 10.1 million views, just over there. So you know, Doctor Who was still absolutely ticking all the boxes at this point in its career. Everybody loved Doctor Who at this point. And certainly, although now we look back on this as not the most loved story ever, for me at the time, how old was I? 14. This was, I don't know about you, JT, but I found this Time Flight really exciting because it was very much
Concorde
in DWM. Yeah, absolutely, because of Concorde. Doctor Who Monthly was talking about Concorde being.
He was onto something. J&T. I was about to say JT was onto something. J&T was onto something with this.
He really knew what he was doing. You know, this is important. This is important. Let's not forget, this was the first television production ever allowed to film on board a Concorde. And it was also the first production ever allowed to film at Heathrow Airport. You know, we have to take our hats off to John Nathan Turner. He did, you're quite right, Dan. He knew what he was doing. By the way, fact fans out there, if you are interested in the ultimate Doctor Who location trip, you can still visit the exact Concorde that is in that shot that they used it.
Wow.
It's now proudly displayed at Manchester Airport. That exact Concorde, not one like it.
Just by chance, Concorde. Or because it was in Doctor Who?
It's at Manchester Airport now.
It's part of a new museum type thing they're doing about the history of flight and aviation.
Correct.
Is it just there by chance though, because it was like that one particular Concorde? Was it there because it was the one used in Doctor Who?
Oh no, it's there purely by chance. It's because it's decommissioned. I think
the last one.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the other ones are. I have to be honest. I don't know whether the other Concords are. But
didn't the French keep one?
Say again, sorry, JT.
Didn't the French keep one?
They did. They did.
But it just so happens,
it
just so happens that the one we've got is the very one from Time Flight. Interestingly, this was the most successful episode of John Nathan Turner's entire run. It really, Time Flight really, and so it really goes to show that Doctor Who was absolutely barreling along at this point. Sadly, it's not a light story. Time Flight isn't these days. It got back in 2009 when DWM did their big 200 poll. It came 196th, fourth from the bottom, which I think is a little bit. I like Time Flight.
It bloody wouldn't now. A fair few people do love it. We've got some affection for Time Flight in the chat on YouTube. Lots of hashtags. Justice for Time Flight says problem being. Lots of people saying how much they love it. And there's a great comment here from Crimpling Doubloon who says Time Flight is like a Russell T Davies story without the budget. Somehow I know what that means, JT.
Well, go on, sorry, JT.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, Simon, it shows John Nathan Turner, he was ahead of his time. Had he been around today, he would have loved well, he would have been old, but he would have loved the ability to do with budgets he could have got. He was ahead of his time, and he made that imprint. And the brilliant thing is that Doctor Who was getting those ratings simply because people were getting in from work. It was accessible to anybody that wanted to sit down and have their dinner, watching a little bit of stuff after Nationwide in the news and just chilling out and just relaxing and getting into their evening, because it was on early in the evening. It was the start of the BBC schedules in the evening, and it was open to all. Anyone could watch this. You know, and
but the thing is, JT, people wanted to watch it because they were enjoying it. They were loving it. So for all its ropiness, Time Flight, people were still enjoying it. People were enjoying Doctor Who at this point.
Yes.
Interestingly, Peter Davison said it was the worst story he did. He didn't like it.
This was the worst story he did. This one.
But to be clear, he praised the script. He said it's just that it was the end of the season. We'd run out of money. Recreate prehistoric Earth in Studio 8. It was,
But
with Concord. It was not going to happen.
Peter does have to take some credit, because we have to remember as well the context of it. Time Flight was the last of his run in his first series, and if you look at the ratings, he had helped them go up to that magic tempo. And I can just imagine John on the day after the first rating come in, just going, and actually loving that, and then it continued. But it's because part of it was because Peter had been so successful, and people were talking about Peter. Oh, you've got to watch Peter Davies as Doctor Who. He's really good, really good. Yeah. Brilliant days.
And it worked. A couple of very, very quick fun facts on Time Flight. One of them is that it was and anybody that's seen Time Flight, you will see in the location footage at Heathrow, there's snow on the ground. And apparently, according to Sarah Sutton, it was so cold when they were filming that Janet Fielding actually cried. She was that cold in her little stewardess outfit. But my very favourite fun fact from this one is Khalid, of course, who is infamously played by Anthony Aney, who's playing the Master, who's playing Khalid, and of course Anthony Aney was also infamously, he was bald, bless him, but he hid it and he didn't want anybody to know, and so apparently he demanded that he had a bald cap over his wig for when he was playing Khalid. Just taken his wig off and said, "Yeah, that's not Khalid." But no, he had to have a bald cap put over his wig to retain his dignity. Bless him. God, I love Anthony Aney. Sadly missed it.
And they were tight on budget as well, but they still do it. Still did it for him. How about that? That's JT looking after his talent. J&T looking after his talent. God, that's confusing. God, let's move. What's next, Simon? All
right, yes, we're going even further back now. We're going another 17 years back. 57 years since episode 1 of The Crusade was on television. 57 years. This got 10.5 million viewers. So again, every one of these stories were hugely popular with the public.
I love The Crusade.
The Crusade is one of those great historicals. It was the last story actually written by David Whittaker for William Hartnell. David Whittaker had written lots for Hartnell, and of course being the script editor, or the story editor as they were known at the time. And David Whittaker always said this was his best script. It was also the first Doctor Who to be directed by Douglas Camfield in its entirety. He dabbled in bits of An Unearthly Child and Planet of Giants, but this first story as a director, and he really stamps his authority on it. And interestingly, episode 1, as I say, which is 57 years ago this week, is one of the only 2 episodes of this story that still survives in the archive, along with episode 3. And remarkably, this episode was found in New Zealand by a film collector called Bruce Grenville. But he didn't realise it was found sometime, we don't even know when, he doesn't know when, it was sometime before 1998. And he didn't realise that it was rare or of any interest, so he just left it in his film collection. He's got a huge film collection. And it wasn't until 1998 when a couple of fans, Neil Lambert and literally discovered it in his archive, and were like, "My God, you've got a missing episode here.
Give us it now."
And so I must be honest, I love The Crusade. I like the historicals. I do like the historicals.
Yeah, I do too, Simon. Yeah.
If they're done right, they're very, very good.
Yeah.
I think it's a very clean story. It's really well written, really well put. Just well constructed, actually, not well written, well constructed.
Yes.
And it's got a tight cast, and they're good people who are in it. People like G. Marsh, and they're given stuff to do. They just give them meaty parts. It's not overwritten. It's just nice in the way that black and white Doctor Who is nice. You could just wrap it around you.
How many times has Julian Glover been in Doctor Who?
I know, I'm just thinking that.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Simon?
Because Julian Glover is an absolute legend. And we are, in fact, celebrating Julian Glover's birthday. He will be 87 on Sunday, so it's just wonderfully coincidental that his birthday happens to coincide with episode 1 of The Crusade. Julian Wyatt Glover, to give him his full title. And of course, he's CBE. He is a titled person.
What a terrific actor.
He's a stunning actor. He's done
the last of his breed.
He's done the Avengers, the Saint, Blake's Seven, Quatermass. One of my all-time favourites, of course, he's General Veers in Empire Strikes Back. So he's one of the Imperial Walkers on
Indiana Jones. He was in
Harry Potter, Game of Thrones. You name it, he's done it. And of course, another of my personal favourites is the Bond villain Christatos.
Christatos. For Eyes Only.
For Eyes Only.
Yeah.
And bless him, Julian Glover now is the oldest living actor to have played a Bond villain and the earliest surviving actor to actually have played a Bond villain. Bless him. He's literally, bless him, one of a kind now. He desperately wanted to play Doctor Who.
Really?
Yeah, I'm sure he's given up the aspirations now.
He'd have been brilliant.
He really wanted to, apparently. He was very vocal about really wanting to play Doctor Who. And you do kind of think, wow, we were robbed, weren't we? Because
people in the chat love this guy.
He was he said that he was embarrassed by his accent in Last Crusade because he put on an American accent. And he thought his American accent was absolutely awful. Yeah.
Well,
but,
it's interesting, Ian, because apparently going back to the Crusade for a second, apparently Julian Glover is quite open about how he got on very badly with William Hartnell. And he said, and I quote, "My background was at the time a bit la-di-da for him because Julian Glover had come from the Royal Shakespeare Company. And so Julian Glover said he was very difficult to work with. Whereas Roger Moore, of course, who he worked with on For Your Eyes Only, apparently used to rib him terribly, call him Mr. National Theatre. I loved the fact. So Roger Moore really embraced it and loved it, whereas William Hartnell, I think, kind of felt a little bit, well,
there was that hierarchy in those days, though, wasn't it? With actors, if you were on the stage, you were considered something huge. TV was a secondary thing in those days, especially in the '60s. Yeah. So,
and of course, let's not forget that Julian Glover's son Jamie plays William Russell in the
Adventure in Space and Time.
Thank you. That's the one. Adventure in Space and Time. So it all goes in circles. So anyway. Julian Glover, 87 on Sunday.
Wow. Happy birthday, mate.
Happy birthday, Julian. Yeah, I've seen him, get him on the show.
Oh, he's a legend. I did see him. I saw him at the 2013 Doctor Who celebration down in Exeter. They were doing an interview with him on stage. And I did get to ask him a question, when they bring the mic around. I needed to understand my question, so I gave up.
Never mind.
I was trying to say that his performance as Scaroth in City of Death is very much like a Bond villain. And of course, he played a Bond villain in For Your Eyes Only. And it was lost and I gave up.
Yeah.
Peter Harrington's rubbing it in and says he met him at the NEC years ago and was so nice, a lovely actor. Yeah, lots of happy birthdays here for Julian Glover. He's still an actor who I think all of those roles, not just the roles in Doctor Who, all of those roles have really endeared him to us, even when he's played some real nasty bastards. Yeah. We've got next, Simon.
Well, we finish on a bit of a sad note, really, because, bless her, it would have been Linda Barron's 83rd birthday today, bless her. She died a couple of weeks ago on the 7th of March, and she would have been 83 today. Dear old Linda Barron. She was born...
Gladys.
No, Gladys. I mean, obviously she's infamous. She was born, Lillian Ridgway was her name. She was born in Urnston in Lancashire. You probably guessed that, actually, that she was born in Lancashire. And she trained as a dancer at the Royal Academy, so she had aspirations to be a dancer. That was her dream in life. But life took her down a different route. She ended up acting, and of course here we can see her in 2 Doctor Who roles, which is Captain Rack up there top left in Enlightenment, a beautiful story and a magnificent virtuoso performance, I think, from Linda Barron, and then more of a sort of cameo. Yeah, this is. And then to say more of a cameo as Val in Closing Time from 2011 with Matt Smith. But it was nice to see. And of course, she's
lovely to see her again.
One of only 29 performers to appear in both classic and New Who.
Yeah.
And of course, let's not forget that she is the voice of the Ballad of the Last Chance Saloon. She's the singer in the Gunfighters that sings the Ballad of the Last Chance Saloon song throughout the Gunfighters. So she actually 3 roles in
that song sorry, Linda, but that did get on my tits. But other than that, she sang it beautifully. It wasn't her fault. They played it every 5 minutes, but yeah, she sang it beautifully. I mean, ferociously talented. And I said on a video a few weeks ago that somebody like Linda Barron, when she's no longer with us, it's terrible that it's only when that happens, when she passes away. Oh God, I'm going to really miss seeing her in things.
Yeah,
because she just had. We've got something somebody said in the chat. She's like everybody's. Yeah, Problem Being says she's like a cuddly TV aunt that everybody loved. Yeah, it was like that. She was, and even though she's probably most famous for playing Nurse Gladys Emmanuel opposite Ronnie Barker and now David Jason, and certain parts like that. Women do not endure in this business, in that industry, in that profession for all those decades, just playing bits of crumpet or somebody who feeds somebody else lines. She was fantastic at what she did. So much charisma. Captain Rack, I don't know how she felt about playing Captain Rack. I hope she loved it because she was fantastic in that. So memorable, pitched it just right. Yeah, that one cliffhanger did really lead into it, but I think that stands out because the rest of the performance is totally and utterly full and believable and just the right side. I haven't got a camp sensibility, but I love that.
It's almost like she's almost chewing the scenery in Enlightenment, but in the best possible way.
Yeah.
And just comes across as brilliantly watchable. She's the kind of person that I want to watch on my television screen in an evening when I want to unwind.
She will genuinely be missed, truly be missed.
Yeah, and as I say, sadly, she will be in 83 today. So we wish you a very, very happy birthday, Linda Barron. Sadly.
Lots of people echoing that in the chat, Simon.
Yeah. So sorry to finish on a little bit of
No, it's not. We should celebrate her because she did. She gave us a lot of joy. You know, especially in Open All Hours. She was magnificent in that.
She was wonderful.
We should be. Yeah, we should. You know, we should see the positive side, not the negative side of her life.
I think she was one of a kind. Do you think? Do you agree with that?
I do. Well,
probably.
The thing is that she comes from that group of actors that was, very. That JT knows what I'm talking about. There were those kind of actors in those days, very much theatre stroke TV, and they were grateful for the roles they got, even if it was just a bit part. I mean, look at Julian Glover. He had a small part in Empire. He had a tiny part in loads of movies, but yet the man was grateful for everything that came towards him when he started.
You remember him, even the minor roles. You remember him.
Yeah, I mean, he went from Doctor Who, right, with loads of parts in Doctor Who, from there to Indiana Jones to James Bond to Star Wars. I mean, you can't get any better than that as an actor, can you? You know, you can't sit back and say I didn't do anything.
No, the difference with all those, with Julian Glover and Linda Barron and all that generation, the couple of generations that were around, is that they were jobbing actors. They were paying the rent, they were paying the bills.
Yeah.
But that was to their advantage because it meant that they would take roles and therefore they would learn their craft. Nowadays, like career politicians, you have career actors who think, I'm going to make money and I'm going to be a star. And that's nonsense.
Yeah, that's all the thing.
Don't do that. Yeah, because you're not going to get anywhere. If you're just in it for the money and if you're just in it to have your name in lights and to go to the awards and all that nonsense, you're in the wrong job.
I remember him saying that he was really surprised that Spielberg cast him. He was like, "You're going to cast me?" He was really confused. But Spielberg had faith in him. And he carried most of he was the main bad villain in that film.
Yeah,
it was a twist though as well on that one, wasn't it? You didn't think that at the beginning.
Yeah.
He was great in Game of Thrones as well, and who knows, he may have time to make his way back to Doctor Who, Sarah.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Who knows? There could be time
in the RTD era, though.
We could get another picture in the diary there for Julian Glover. Thank you for putting that together, as always, Simon. I know you've been really, really busy, but I love all that nostalgia for the new and the classic. Time.
And Linda's like she reminds me of that Liz Sladen in a way, that one because of the kind of
they knew each other,
Did they really?
Oh yeah, they were pals. Liz knew everybody because they were all of that. A lot of them worked together. They were all in the same circles. Yeah.
You know that generation as well, because obviously Liz had the classical fans growing up with her, and then later on with the Sarah Jane Adventures. Linda Barron had that. She did a kids' TV show called Come Outside.
Auntie Pippin, that's how I knew her.
Auntie Mabel and Pippin, yeah. It's obviously like
My kids grew up watching that.
My nieces and nephews grew up watching that, and then my own kids
Wonderful.
grew up watching that. And it's just lovely. That, you know,
nice.
she appealed to, you know, all ages. She'll be missed by, you know, multiple generations.
Yeah. Very, very sad.
Cheers, Linda. She's flying that plane up in the the blue, the big yonder as we speak. But yeah, a great performances in Doctor Who. And yeah, I'm going to miss seeing her turn up in other things.
And on that, let's just send our love to Sarah and the family, because of course Sarah is very much connected with Doctor Who. So there you go.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Simon. Let's head back to the main chat for a look at the present and future. Yeah, people in the chat here still talking about Open All Hours, about Linda Barron, and mentioning Sarah Lee, and all those kinds of little bits of connective tissue that we love so much as Doctor Who fans. Because, like you say, JT, it does seem that everybody knew everybody else knows everybody else, and I suppose it may seem impossibly glamorous to us when the credits roll up, but they're human beings who have relationships and connections, and it's a profession, and I suppose it's quite incestuous when there's theatres. Well, there was theatres all up and down the country. I suppose
it was then, and a lot of them were in reps, of course.
Lot smaller channels, you know, only a few. Do you know what I mean? And the group of people that kept getting work were kind of small, but obviously, it's much bigger now. So yeah.
Let's return to the subject of Russell T Davies for a moment. Here he is. Here he is back with Verity Lambert. In 2007, I think this was an interview for SFX magazine that got the pair of them together. It's it's a nice read, that is, where they answered generally the same questions and had a chin wag. Yeah, lovely stuff from happy days. And all may indeed be quiet at Bad Wolf at the moment, but it seems almost certain that Russell, just like Verity did, and just like Russell did back in 2005, may indeed have cast his Doctor, if Instagram is to be believed, because he hit like on a comment a couple of weeks ago. So somebody put up this, I can't remember who it was exactly, but Russell, like this comment if the Doctor has been cast, and Russell did like it. Now,
is that what that silly hand emoji is?
Yeah.
Is that a like? That's not a thumbs up, though, is it?
It looks rude to me.
It looks really rude.
It looks like I'm going to
supposed to be sort of show me the money, that kind of thing. Yes, so there was that on Instagram. The Doctor Who community, being such as it is, all landed on that, and the poor guy, within a week, he was besieged with people trying to get more information, because Instagram, it's obviously a slightly lesser platform, and it's a friendlier platform. To be honest, I'd recommend Instagram.
Cast Hugh.
He's lying. But yeah, Russell kind of opened a bit of a
lying
there.
He knows what he's doing.
To the point where he was getting messages constantly, like, if this, please like this comment if you've already cast the companion, please, just trying to get more information. And in the end, he ended up just blocking anybody who was asking questions like that.
Russell, you brought it on yourself. It's your own fault. You know what you're doing. You know what they're like.
Refugees from Russell's Instagram account were turning up on Twitter, absolutely bereft at having lost their window in on Russell and on anything that he may speak about as regards what's going on at Bad Wolf. Bad Wolf, it's a closed shop for the time being, but on March the 14th, Bad Wolf Studios in Wales, they hosted this group of young students as part of their industry day. So the students had a unique opportunity, really, through the Screen Alliance of Wales, to speak to the crew who are actually putting all new Doctor Who together at Bad Wolf Studios in Wales. And obviously Russell T Davies was there, Phil Collinson was there, and one of the directors of the new blocks, Vicky Dello, I want to make sure I get that right, she was there, and they spoke to these students, and they had sort of face-to-face discussions to talk about career options, depending on which departments these young people would wish to go into in the industry, sort of special effects or costume or production design, direction, or whatever. So it's a nice opportunity to read about, isn't it, Ian? And
Never
it's
had an
nice,
opportunity.
just
when I was
nice
young.
to see them all sat there, even if they are in masks. The poor little devils. But it would have been a nice experience to see. Russell T Davies is a big figure, literally a very big figure in the industry. So there he was, passing on some wisdom. And I doubt that he said a great deal, but who knows? Who knows? Maybe they all signed NDAs, JT.
Yeah, can I just point out as well that this wasn't just for Doctor Who or that? I mean, Bad Wolf have a superb, since day one, track record of nurturing and encouraging young talent. And these students are studying their crafts in whatever art they want to go into. And it's great that I've always admired the fact that Bad Wolf yearly bring these youngsters that could actually work on apprenticeships into the business. They actually work in there as well. Some of them go into Bad Wolf and do a traineeship, and they support that and they nurture that. And it's a great place, obviously, to learn what they're going to do. I mean, they've done it on Bad Wolf have been doing that for quite a while. So don't make mistake, Spacebookers, are thinking it was just because it's Doctor Who. It's what Bad Wolf actually do, and big up to them and credit to that, because these kids get reality. And it's through speeches like this and going to events like this where they can go, oh, this is for me, or actually, oh, I don't know, this sounds like it's not for me. It's a vital piece of the industry, and they should be doing more of it.
Nice to see, isn't it? Because it is all growing in Wales, the film and TV industry, and there are obviously graduates turning out all the time. There was 120, I think, 120 young people who are just hungry for, not just for their window in, but just to hear more.
Sorry, did you ask me a question?
No, very stirring. But yeah, I mean, the thing is with Russell T Davies, obviously he is back. He's going to be back in the hot seat from the anniversary, from the 60th anniversary onwards. And although, it is generally quiet.
What you like putting that
Generally
fella
quiet.
out?
This is the legacy, isn't it? So it's come home. It's back in the hands of Russell T Davies.
Vote the odd one out.
Obviously, when this story broke, we were all whipped up here on the show in the excitement of it all. We live streamed next to immediately as soon as we could. And but over time, that excitement of getting that sort of Christmas present sort of wore off. I think a couple of us are still really quite excited about this. Some of us have cooled off, and I know that some people in the chat, there's probably that represented there too. But people have their concerns about Russell coming back to the show, either because he was there for so long before, and we saw Stephen Moffat kind of with the best will in the world. Stephen, as a fan of yours, he did run out of steam. He says himself he ran out of steam. He stayed too long. He was persuaded to stay. Why would Russell go back now? And you only have to look at his career and his integrity and the fact that everything he makes is so bloody watchable to be white-pilled about it, because you can't let but be cynical about any decision that's made in the modern TV age. It's all become so weaponized and like a bloody minefield. But we've spoken, haven't we, about how Russell's writing has changed between then and now, Charlotte, and try to speculate on where it may go. But it's next to impossible. Have you got any instincts about that?
I just think Russell is going to use this opportunity to do things he couldn't the first time round. I think he's going to really enjoy it, not having BBC have so much of a controlling creative sort of stake, because he has talked about how he wanted to do so much and the budgets were tight and he really had ambitions and he could never do them. So I just think for Russell, this is going to be the chance for him to really explore different avenues, because I think he's, from the little bit he has said it's new territory. So I think he's really going to grab this opportunity, I think, and show us something that we wouldn't suspect from him.
He hasn't said very much in. I think we all want him to say more. We all want to. I think wherever we are in this equation, however we feel, we all would like to know more as soon as possible. And obviously, he hasn't said much. But a few weeks ago, when we went for a little break, he did start to speak. So here's a little from Russell T Davies. Check this out. We can hear some inkling of where he is now, and the people out there who could be a little bit nervous, because obviously Russell is I think he's, I don't want to use the word outspoken, that wouldn't be fair, but he's got very strong views and he's expressed them very publicly in the last few months in very controversial situations. And you do wonder, because we see a lot of public figures where their professional lives and their personal lives and their views get sort of tangled up. So can't help but wonder, could Russell go this way? Well, let's hear what he's got to say about it all.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to In Conversations with Suffolk Pride. My name is Thomas, and my pronouns are he, him. And
Oh, for fuck's sake,
Russell T Davies. Hello, Russell.
Hello, Thomas. Hello, happy Pride, happy Suffolk Pride. Thank you for having me.
Do you plan to push boundaries further?
Well, that's interesting. I know what you mean. I get asked that now and again, but I do and I don't. We're all many people. And I'm two things at once. I'm 20 things at once, but I'm certainly two things at once here, which I don't actually sit here plan. My job is to sit here, here's my keyboard, and I sit here writing a story. My job is to that story. My job is to make a good piece of television that's entertaining and funny and dark and make you laugh, might make you cry. So my job is that's what I'm paid for, is to do that story crowd. In the course of that, there might be, of course, I've got a kind of political mind, and I've got a gay activist's mind that says, I want this, I want that, I want this to be seen. But more important than that is, that's not actually what I'm doing. What I'm more keen to do sitting here is to find things that haven't been said before. And I think we're a very new community still in terms of fiction. Our presence out loud like this is 50, 60 years old. Whereas the straight community has been telling stories for thousands of years. So we're still new. We've got new stuff to say. So if I'm pushing it towards saying new territory, it's not a shock. I'm much more interested in something that goes, oh, I've never thought of that before. Oh, I've never seen that before.
See, I find that really, really, really interesting. You know, he expressly says he's not interested in writing to shock. It's still about integrity and about story and about character. That's what I'm taking from it, Sarah. You've met Russell T Davies. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm actually reassured by that, because we know what Russell's politics are like. You know, he can be said to be woke. He's very left-leaning, obviously, but if it is in his work, it's usually because it's right for the story. It's part of the story. It isn't just because of the message, or it's an important part of what's going on, and the fact that he always puts the story first and creativity in. I think, in one respect, yes, he is the same kind of Russell, but obviously he has moved on. But to be fair, I mean, if he's going to come back, what is the point of him coming back to do the same thing again, to repeat history? That, of course, you're going to move on to new things and experiment, but again, the fact that he's not doing it to shock, whereas Chibnall everything was to shock, to get a reaction, to have a gimmick. And I think maybe in one respect it's going to be quite safe in that kind of like basic storytelling, that back to basics thing, but he's also looking for different stories to tell, and at the end of the day, that's the most important. It's new stories and characters, and that's all I want, in my Doctor Who. So I'm really encouraged by this. I've waffled on for too long.
No, well, the thing is, I mean, because we've spoken on this panel about, oh God, this could be terrible for the show. Which Russell T Davies is going to be in the room turning in those scripts? JT, you've been quite vocal about it. Does that reassure you a little?
Of course it doesn't. I don't believe a word this man says right now. Right now, after what he said at the Attitude Awards, Russell Don't Drop the T Davies is in a completely different political platform to me. I do not agree with his extreme left-wing ideologies. I do not agree with the extreme left-wing activists who are around with them. He's hanging around with. I mean, look at that kid at the beginning there. That's what it's about. Now, I just want to put out there right now, please don't assume that the alleged LGBT community is whole. We are not. We are exactly the same as Doctor Who fandom. We are exactly the same as any other community in the world right now. We are divided. I am LGB. I am not LGBT. I am certainly not LGBTQ, and I am not LGBTQIAA BBC ITV Channel 4. I am nothing of that. And I am very proud to just be part of that. He isn't. He's LGBTQIA BBC ITV Channel 4 25/6 whatever. He's all that. I've got no time for it right now. And if this show comes back with, you know, and I said it previously, it's all down to the casting. If they go outlandish with the casting, I'm out for good, and I won't watch it. I won't support it. Won't talk about it. Won't want to know. And I'm worried because somebody like Russell, I think he does bring it. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Doctor Who is not a soap opera. It's a science fiction drama. Just give us the Doctor fighting baddies every week. That's what we need. That's what we want. We want escapism. Take us away from the bloody politics of this planet right now.
Maybe I'm being naive. You know, I don't know this man. I met him once very briefly years and years ago. And I respect everything that you're saying, JT. I totally understand it. I'm taking that at face value. And I'm not seeing, for example, Bob Iger stood on the stage at the D24 event rolling out what Disney are going to be doing and talking out of his arse. I'm seeing a man sat in his own home on a webcam just chatting to a young guy, and just credit to Suffolk Pride there, and the gentleman who interviewed Russell T Davies.
I won't give Suffolk Pride any credit. You bugger off.
I don't know who they are, but I've just used their clip. So
all prides are homophobic. Every single pride in the United Kingdom, if not the world, is homophobic because they are telling gay men and lesbians, get out of our pride. We're only interested in the T and the Q and the I and grown men dressed as babies. That's the problem.
What I'm seeing, I completely get that. And thanks, JT. I know this is something you feel very passionate about. I'm glad you feel that you can share that with us and with.
I'll share with anyone, love. I'm not bothered, you know.
Sincerely, you know, I really, you know, I'm interested. You know, I'm here. But
it doesn't,
Simon,
doesn't I fill me with confidence, though. What he said.
I didn't think it would be.
Well, am I not surprised?
Do you think he was on the fence there?
Yes, I do. And I agree with JT. Immediately when that guy opened his mouth and he said them, they, whatever, if Russell T is in league with this, and if he's going to put politics and all this stuff into what he's writing, then we're in trouble. Then I'm not going to watch it. I'm going to be like JT and not watch it.
Just being interviewed by somebody.
Tony put a good thing, a good comment on about any excess has got to be reined in, because at the end of the day, it's still got to make money. And here's hoping, right? You know, got to cross your fingers on this. That's all.
Ian, I have included in the description of this video, of this live stream, you can watch the full, I think it's nearly half an hour interview over at Suffolk Pride. I don't know who they are, JT. I sincerely don't. But the full half an hour interview is quite interesting. And he does talk a little bit more about the need to make money. And he does talk a little about Sony being involved and about studios and about all that kind of thing. It is quite interesting. And whilst I'm not going to say that Russell T Davies is all of a sudden based, I do, and his position, some of it just blows my mind, because it's a subject that I've got my opinions about. Of course I have, but you know, I listen. I try to listen to everybody's opinion and then form my own. But for me, Simon, I kind of taken the guy at face value. I don't think he's bullshitting anybody. What do you think?
Do I need to start off by saying what my pronouns are?
Yes, you do.
Only if you feel.
Time and Lord.
Only if you feel this isn't a safe space enough, Simon.
I feel I ought to share this with you. No, seriously. The problem I've got with Russell T Davies is I actually don't care less what he says anymore. And the reason I feel so strongly about this is because it's not that long ago that you were playing the clip that where he'd done that big rant at that. I can't even remember what it was, but he did that big rant about how we should be defending the BBC and saving the BBC. Yeah, and I can still distinctly remember he was really jokingly critical about one of the cable channels or something, who had shown 15 minutes of sumo wrestling or something. I can't remember what the exact program was, but he was really nastily critical about justifying why the BBC was so brilliant. Because these other channels, they've showed 15 minutes of sumo wrestling. Well, Russell, I hope you're watching this at this moment in time. Have you looked at the running order on BBC Three anytime?
It's shocking. Yeah, I've seen that.
Now, I'm sorry, Russell, but you need to look at that, and then you need to eat your words and shut them up, because you cannot pontificate to us about how justified the BBC is and then stand by BBC Three. So unfortunately, at this moment in time, I don't give a damn about anything he says. I don't want him back on Doctor Who. I made this clear when he was first.
You did, yeah.
Back. I said
You've always said that, yeah.
This will not work. This should not be happening. And I'll tell you the honest truth. And I think what's part of this, I think, is down to Russell's ego. I think it's obvious when I've looked at him in interviews. It seems quite obvious to me that he is, to a lesser or greater extent, he has a decent sized ego, I think, in my opinion. And I've seen that in interview too many times. And so I think there is an ego thing going on here as to why he wants to come back and save Doctor Who. He wants to be seen as the saviour of the show. Only Russell can do this. Only Russell can save your show. I'm sorry. I am getting a bit angry over this because I don't give about Russell T Davies.
I know. I've always said that I believe they went to Bad Wolf first, not Russell. I think that Bad Wolf got Russell in rather than Russell getting Bad Wolf in, and that it's all been reworked in the media because Russell's got a bigger name than Bad Wolf have. I know you don't want to hear more from me, but we have got a second clip from Russell T Davies. Listen to this.
I have a question from Wayne Cool on Facebook, who asked, any chance of a Russell T Davies musical, specifically a Doctor Who musical?
Oh, behave. Now stop it. I'm not going to do Doctor Who questions, I'm afraid, Thomas, because although I'm writing the show right now at this desk here, Jodie Whittaker's still the Doctor and Christian was still in charge until October this year, so I've got to keep quiet about it. And I don't think I'll do a Doctor Who musical anyway. Oh, I don't know. But the problem is, or anything, yes. I think it's the kind of thing that's often said glibly because people go, someone did it the other day on someone else's show, not something I'm working on, someone else's show, and someone involved with this show said, why don't we make it a musical? And I sat there and I thought, it's like, you don't just write a song and bung them in. If you want to write a musical, it takes years of development and years of it. I think people say that very glibly. Make it a musical.
Pearls of wisdom.
To be honest with that, I'd agree with what he's just said there, and I actually I do agree with the fact that we've been saying this as well. It is wrong to talk about what you're going to be doing. This is why I don't expect the new Doctor to be announced until after Whittaker has finished her series, because she's still, in the eyes of, well, only in the eyes of a small amount of fans, and certainly in the eyes of probably a begrudging BBC, she's still the Doctor. She's got 2 more episodes to go. I don't think we're going to get a new Doctor announcement until Christmas or the New Year or November the 23rd. You know, something along those lines to say, right, now that that's done and the Chibnall era is officially over and she's gone, here's your new one. And now we can start giving you more information through 2000 and wherever it is next year, 23, as part of the 60th anniversary. And I think that is, I do respect that. And I think he's right on that. And
professional integrity and simple.
The question is, why wasn't a straight person interviewing him there? Why did they choose? Was it because of the Pride thing?
It was Pride. Let's not get off topic.
All right, I didn't know that. Sorry.
But I think the important thing there is that there are certain people going back not just to Twitter, but people who are going off the chart, fidgeting during this extended silly season. It's just going on and on and on. There are people out there who are convinced that because it's Saturday the 26th of March in a couple of days' time, that Russell will announce his new Doctor then. But he has said here to camera, he cannot even talk about it till October, that Whittaker is still the Doctor.
Well, he could.
Still Chibnall's show.
Yeah. He could talk about it, Dan. The difference is he's not going to, and they've made that creative decision out of show business respect to the team that that left the show last year and have finished production because they've still got 2 more to go. That's just professional courtesy. They could, but it would swamp everything that is coming up from the last 2 episodes of the Chibnall era. Not that the British public give a damn anyway, but that's all it is. He could. I mean, they could. But guess who wouldn't care about the last 2 Whittaker ones? And guess who would be annoyed? Whittaker, Chibnall, and all their friends.
It's very worrying, though. I just hope that he doesn't push this stuff too much into his stories. Yes, he wants to make... And
he has just told us that he wouldn't. And
good. Yes, I'm saying good. That's great. But you know, people say a lot of things, don't they?
If he does it, we've got him on camera. If he pulls a Kevin Smith, we have him on camera. Russell, we've got you, and there'll be nowhere to hide, my friend.
It's not as if they'll care. It's not as if they'll care at all.
No, I mean, Kevin Smith never cared, did he? So there you go.
But the problem is, they'll only care if the thing doesn't make money. And we've said it before on the show, right back to January last year. This thing now has to make money because there's a lot of money being invested, and that's the word from a business point of view. It's investment in this property now. It has to be the huge amount of fans from across the world back. We are very important because we invest in merchandise. We support the show. We plug the show. We talk about the show to friends and family. We do our bit, like these sort of things that we are on now. We come together and we discuss it, and we do all this. We keep the show up there. And then what they've got to do is they've got to bring the great British public back. And then, as we've discussed before, they have to go and find a worldwide market because they've all gone off and gotten started with proper life. It's a huge responsibility. And if they do it wrong and keep on the path they're on now and alienate everybody, they will lose a fortune.
It's their game to lose. You know, everybody wants to forget. Everybody wants that show moment. And I'm very much in Russell T Davies' corner. I have to take that at face value. And the people out there who are insistent and obsessive, you know who you are. People who've blocked me on Twitter for speaking really
idiots, basically. Idiots.
With the best will in the world. People that I like, who I've got nothing against, but simply won't listen to reason. And no matter how much we want to wish something to happen, Simon, I've been wishing missing episodes back into existence for decades. It's never happened. So why is that? We can't wish this to happen. We can't wish everything to be delivered by Saturday. We'll know exactly what's going to happen. Not just at the
probably the
anniversary.
trailer, Dan. To be honest, I mean, Easter is very soon. Yeah. If the BBC have any common sense, they don't. They would start trailering. They would start showing the trailer for the next episode this weekend onwards. If there's anything decent on BBC, I don't know.
We have a question
about at Easter, I presume, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. April the 17th, I think. Jack Thursby says that does the panel think this is the last chance for the show's survival? When is enough? Maybe it's already too late. I think we've said several times already, just this evening, let alone in the past, this is kind of a last chance saloon for Doctor Who on TV. If they don't deliver, they are screwed.
Have you noticed Jack put a scarf on there? Look, he's put a scarf on, so he's not as cold now. Look at that. Well done, Jack. I like that. The answer to that question, Jack, is that all of us here on the show, we come of it from a different point. Simon has always said that he thinks that even if this gets wrong, it can come back in a few years. Ian and I are very much the other way. I'm not so sure because it's a very delicate time in the entertainment industry. I would rather have had this hiatus carry on for another 3 or 4 years. So we're all a bit different there.
Who knows? Who can say?
Who can say?
He's lying.
And on this show, we don't like to over-labour these things. We certainly don't talk about Twitter drama. There's a place for that. I know there is. But
Twitter.
It's not something. On Twitter, really. It's not something I believe. It's not something I believe in covering in great detail. But there's been such a storm going right back to the Hugh Grant story that we could not possibly leave that when fandom is still talking about it. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Just like Terry on Tuesday says, he's already done it. Our friend Terry Cooper there. Good to see you, Terry.
Good
Please
stuff,
like
Terry.
the video and smash the like button and hit the cloister bell so you get the notifications about what we're doing next. Could be more live streams just like this. Can we just say to
Simon Ashley, hello, love. You said in the comments something about a Doctor Who musical. There's already been one. It was called The Ultimate Adventure.
And it was fab. And
it was brilliant.
And get this. Can I just throw in one little fact? The Ultimate Adventure premiered this week in 1999.
No. Was it?
I'm my loop break.
Absolute poetry. Let's take a look at some more visual poetry to round us off, shall we? How about some pretty pictures, everybody? How about this?
There we go.
This is the latest one. This is the latest one from Oliver Arkenstall-Jones. We're back in the VHS era again, everybody.
Yes.
The VHS cover
I love that
for season 22's Attack of the Cybermen, Sarah.
Fabulous.
That
Great
reminds
stuff.
me of the posters you used to get in the video shop winter. You remember the rental, the video rentals?
Yeah.
It's so Oliver, we love you. It's brilliant.
Very
It's
ace.
another
Terrific.
blinder. He did an Earthshock one in exactly the same style, and he's doubled up here with Attack of the Cybermen. We can see Lytton there, not looking his best, it has to be said.
No, the flu there, or the COVID, or something like that.
And the Cyberman's got a bump on his head. You know,
Yeah.
so
Just to get
bump his head on the
wants to
door.
get some ointment on that, doesn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ointment.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, it's about to give Perry a facial. That's not so good.
Oh
Right in the
yeah.
corner, not
Look
good.
at that.
Oh my God, let's move on.
But generally, Oliver, another amazing work from Oliver Arkenstall-Jones. And yeah, go and follow him. He's on Twitter and he's on DeviantArt too. We've got this one too from Darren
that's
Joyce.
amazing.
Beautiful.
Brilliant.
Beautiful artwork
Absolutely
connected
brilliant.
to the Aztecs there with Jacqueline Hill.
There's something about that actually does scream the Aztec story, isn't there? I mean, the colours and the hues and it really does represent the story beautifully.
Hartnell was the first, yes, definitely.
Well, who would dream of actually saying anything other than that?
Them,
I mean,
them,
it's not,
they,
it's
whatever.
not fact, is it? It's not fact.
Yeah,
Mike
great.
Simon.
There's a
Great.
whole. Simon Ashley, come back again, Simon. Love to see you again another time. This new line of art that Daryl's putting together, he's being very industrious at the moment. I'm loving seeing more from Daryl Joyce. I think he's one of Britain's. I think he's one of Britain's
I would
best
buy that.
traditional
Imagine that
artists.
as a canvas. That'd be wonderful.
Oh, that'd be lovely, Sarah. Yeah.
He's managed to move on to digital and maintain his distinctive style, which is, it's not an easy thing to do. So keep them coming, Daryl. We want to see some more. And there's this as well from Rogue over on Twitter to finish us off. This is the inside of Mrs. TARDIS. This was on DeviantArt too. Lovely bit of kind of production design, stroke caricature work there with a pipe organ in the dead center and a velvet chair on a track that goes around the console. So Missy can, she can never be upstanding unless she absolutely wants to be.
Is that a picture of Delgado in the background as well there?
Think so. Looks like
if you
him.
notice, the clangers are on the telly in the left.
Yeah.
Oh yes, they are very good.
Absolutely stunning bit of work there. There's lots of little details in it. The more you look, so you go and follow. See, this is why Twitter can be good. Go and follow Rogue on Twitter, and you can see lots more fantastic artwork like that. And there's several. I think we've used. Yes, that's right. Rogue did a caricature of Roger Delgado's master. We put that on the Pretty Pictures section a few weeks ago. So yeah, we have seen more from Rogue before. Go and follow them. Go and see what they're up to next. I'm not the world's biggest Misty fan, but I really, really do like that. Keep them coming. And if you are an artist, if you are a model maker, whatever you do craft-wise, get in touch with us. We can showcase your work too. Instagram and Twitter at Type40 Doctor Who. Or you can join the Type40 Facebook groups and show us there. We can bring it to the live stream for everyone to see. What a glorious show. We've covered a bit of everything on this one, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah.
Let's go to bed.
That wraps things up nicely. I know that several of us have got to bounce and get to bed, but just one last good night to the people who've been good enough to sit and watch in the chat. Yeah, people saying how talented Daryl Joyce is. And Aidan McGeer says, I found a video the other day of my old VHS tapes I recorded Doctor Who on.
I'm coming round.
With the episode details and stickers from Doctor Who Adventures
Great
magazine
stuff.
on. Good God, Aidan's showing his age there, boasting about his youth, flaunting his youth at us. I don't know, what are we going to do with these characters, Simon? Shocking. 12 Doctors, Hartnell number 1, says Jack Thursby in his scarf, and people loving the artwork. I love Missy. A nice chair, also round
things.
So
what are the round things?
Who knows? There could be a whole stream.
Well, we know what's behind them, so it's they hide the workings of the TARDIS.
Are you ready?
Great show,
yes, we are. Bring it on. Who was that?
Yes, we're done. We're done. Thanks, my thanks to JT, to Queen Charlotte,
Oh, bless you, Charlotte.
Can we have that in the show every now and then? Are we nearly ready? Can we have that every now and then?
Simon Morton and
Good night,
the Story-Eyed Girl. Good night, Charlotte. Good to see you. Good night, everybody else. Just a quick
Good night,
plug.
Facebook. Good night, everybody. Goodbye.
A quick plug for these videos. If you didn't catch them while we were away, 2 Type 40 extra videos that we put out. There was a nice live extra one with myself and Charlotte, where we talked a little bit about the news and just shot the breeze for a little while with the people in the chat. And I unopened a few things, DVDs and toys and whatever else. That was a lot of fun. So you can go and catch that. Or there was our conversation with the wonderful artist behind Atom Mirabilis. I said it right at last.
Wow.
Talking about the Tomes of Time, the new ebooks that he's been putting together with the most gorgeous artwork and some tips on real science that may just blow your mind. It blew mine. That's why I needed a couple of weeks off. You can see myself and Adam, who runs that project, as well as the Rabbi from Other Planets, Fila Betkin, and Problem Being, also there on those shows. Those were lots of fun. Go and check them out. And episode 100 of Type 40, a Doctor Who podcast, is recorded. That's on the way too. Don't miss that. A genuine character is our special guest on that show. They're not going to want to miss it, are they, Sarah?
No, it was a lot of fun.
And yeah, that's it for this time. Hope you've enjoyed it. So yes, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get your notifications. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, JT. Cheers, Ian.
Cheers, everyone. Good night.
Simon. And to everybody who's been watching along in the chat. That's it for this time. We'll see you again next time.
He's
Bye-bye.
lying.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep banging the drum. Keep banging the drum.